questions that we might not be able to.
Yeah, I can put that in the chat. If you let me let me put that after I go through mine. Yeah,
Yeah. I just wanted to flag it, and I'll remind again if you forget.
yeah, thank you. So this is the NOI that DDOT issued. So let me scroll down and I'll show you a map. So the performance parking zone is this zone dotted line here. It was established by law in the budget 2 budget cycles ago. It's established for paid parking. To be very clear, this is for paid parking. So metered, or like, the little machine, to charge the parking rates at sort of at the rate of demand. So considering that there's a high demand for paid parking in the evenings, especially when people come out to, U Street to enjoy all that U Street has to offer, charging more based on that. This was based off of what they did around Nats Park. So that this was something that originally was put in the budget, and they're supposed to finish implementing it by the beginning of the next fiscal year, which is the 1st of October. So it's coming up. So this is kind of like the little bit of the boundary map of what it is. And so the funding, as designated by law, would go to several things. So it would go first to cover the initial cost of installation. Then it would go to a placemaking entity. So something like a community improvement district, which has been extensively discussed, within the ANC. But this is only about, to be clear, this NOI is only about the implementation of the zone that would fund it. It is not about any sort of actual entity. That is outside of my purview. So this is the rates that they would charge. So it's like, would kind of continue a little bit more of an increased price here for this. Again, these are meters, or like mobile payment rates. And then sort of from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., the rate would go from $2.30, which is the base rate, to $5. And then from that peak period from 6 to 3, it would go to $8. And so that is specifically, and they are only implementing this on some specific blocks, which our resolution does address. So the green blocks here are where there is existing paid parking. So that is, again, the meters or the machines. The blue stripe blocks here, these blocks are actually where there is, for example, for those of you familiar, there's a resident only parking side of the street. There's one side. And then there is a 2 hour for 2 hours for people who don't have a zone 1 sticker, or there is a, RO, like if you have a zone sticker, you're exempt, so you can just park there. So what these zones would actually do, the blue dotted line ones, the 2 hour would be paid. So if you don't have a sticker, you would be paid, and it would be 24 hours. So instead of it ending at 12 a.m., which it currently does, so technically at 12 a.m., people can park there for the rest of the night until 7 a.m. It would go 24 hours. So you would have to, if you park on one of those blocks, you have to go 24 hours. It would also make that like resident only parking 24 hours as well on like the other side. So it's trying to address a little bit of that, the problems where, like, some people might be coming in later in the evening and parking in ROP zones. It kind of addresses a bit of that, while also putting a charge on some of those blocks where people it might say like 2 hour, but people aren't necessarily like, they might stay a little bit longer, but they're also not paying. This is a reflection of like the signage. So there are going to be those machines, but there's also going to be park mobile, so people being able to pay on their phones. That is the NOI. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show the resolution first, and so let you know what that is, and then I'm happy to bring either of them back up and see if I can answer any questions. So this is the resolution. So I put this together. This is based off of the transportation committee didn't vote on this because we didn't have time. We didn't have a quorum. But I based this off of the feedback I received from community members and heard them on the call from community members who have emailed me, who have contacted me, other commissioners as well. Commissioner Chauvin has given a lot of feedback on this. So it's kind of acknowledging the existing conditions. So the fact that parking is underpriced, that it would adjust that pricing based on demand, whether that funding would go to a community-based like a placemaking entity. I need to change that to placemaking. I misspelled that. I'll fix that there. And then acknowledging the responses that we've heard from residents, the exclusion of a number of blocks, including blocks that have paid parking right now, but for some reason are not going to be charged at performance rates. And then providing a variety of pieces of feedback. So the request to include some blocks that are paid parking blocks now into the zone, into that performance pricing. So those are these blocks here. This is right in front of the 930 Club and Atlantic Plumbing, and the Bond Bread Building. This is the 1800 block of 7th Street, and then the 1900 block of 8th Street, which is where Emmy Square to Gogi Yogi is. Then this is based on some like specific feedback we heard about specific, those are again those blue dash line, the RPP 2-hour blocks, asking that sort of this DDOT include these blocks as well within that like sort of the aspect of the paid zone, and then asking that they also add what's it called, add meters or sort of like paid parking signs on blocks where there's currently like a gap. So these are some blocks we identified. So the 2000 block of 8th Street Northwest on one side, the 2000 block of 10th Street, and the 2000 block of Vermont Avenue Northwest were some sides of the street you can park there unlimited without paying. And so asking that DDOT, take a look at that and actually implement some sort of payment, because if there's like these little loopholes. This last request came in from actually Commissioner in 1E mentioned this as well. So the inclusion of the 2300, 2400, and 2500 blocks of Sherman Avenue. So this is an area where a lot of people park to go out. A lot of people park there and then they kind of walk down. And sort of like including that within the zone as well. Asking that DDOT share usage and revenue data, so we can understand what's actually happening. That they prioritize spending this on a placemaking entity. They consider in the future adjusting rates to reflect market pricing for paid parking in the areas of the corridor. And that they also consider spending some of those future funds on automated parking enforcement technologies, which DDOT has already piloted, but hasn't yet to implement. And that this is a request to DPW, sort of a reinforcement of what we already always been asking, is like increased enforcement in the area and around the zone to force against an potential increase in illegal parking on blocks that don't have performance parking. So I just said a lot of stuff. So do any commissioners have questions? I'll pass it back to you, Chair Harris, and then whatever anyone has.
Okay, Commissioner Chauvin.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner, for doing this work. It's been a long time coming, and your team's effort is very appreciated. I attended your meeting the other night and found your committee members to be asking great questions that serve us all, and that's appreciated. I wanted to ask if we could do a few things. One, it's important, I think, to establish why this was done, why they've started this program. And I don't think it's very clear in either, the NOI or here, and not necessarily do I want it to become part of this resolution, but it's important to know it's because they want to they want to entice folks not to drive, use other forms of communication, because there's no parking basically throughout the U Street corridor, and lots of demand. So they want to reduce entitlement to parking, so folks use other transportation modes. And secondly, I think to protect the residential communities, and I don't think that's clearly stated anywhere. So I'm not adding to add it here. I'm not wishing to add it here, but maybe next time we review this, we can further elucidate that. What I am asking for actually, though, is one provision added that with the intent of reviewing the facts going forward, that residential streets in residential zones are further protected. And I don't think they did an adequate job here, because they did not include lots of residential streets which are inundated with bumper to bumper traffic looking for cheap parking. And their proposal at the table really will exacerbate that situation. So I ask that if we could add just a few lines in your statement, in your resolution, saying take all measures to further protect residential neighborhoods. I would appreciate that. And then
Commissioner Chauvin, I'm sorry. Do you have questions on this? Because we'll get to the actual resolution when we're voting. I get that you wanted to add that, but looking for questions at this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm good for now. I will wait for the further discussion. Thank you.
Commissioner Henderson.
Um, yeah, and if this is not an appropriate question for the time, let me know. But it would be great to just remind myself and maybe the community listening in, um, how like what a place-based entity would look like and do. And my question is, do we know if the line, like the performance parking zone, has anything to do explicitly with the coverage area of the kind of services that would be provided through the place-based entity?
I think that's a good question. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Commissioner. Aaron. So I was gonna defer to Commissioner Jones if he might let me know if you might have an answer on the place-based entity. I know your committee has looked at this, but if not, I can do my best to try.
Sure, yes. So how ANC 1B has been looking at this opportunity is two different ways. We've been having the Transportation Committee looking at basically the parking and the revenue side of things. We've been having the Economic Development Committee handling more the place-based entity side of things. We are not currently sure what a place-based entity will look like. We'll get to this more in the Economic Development Committee section of our meeting. But I'm grateful for the work that Commissioner Chauvin and other members of ANC 1B's Economic Development Committee have done, looking into different models. I don't want to speak more than that. There are a couple of ideas what that would look like. It would be something that it would be some sort of entity that was presumably not part of the DC government, but that we would have, but that would be chartered in some sort of way, sort of how a business improvement district is done. The key difference is I don't think anybody on the Economic Development Committee or other people involved with this want to restrict the guiding body of such an entity to just businesses. There's a strong sentiment within the Economic Development Committee and everybody else involved with this that it ought to be inclusive of business interests, but also inclusive of the many other interests in our area. So I don't have a good answer on that right now because that's something that the Economic Development Committee is looking at. As for the area specifically, I don't have an answer on that. I don't know that that's currently baked into any. I'm going to give that back to Commissioner Locke.
I have an answer for you on that. So the statute as it reads says, so this is discussing the balance of after the expenditure for the initial cost and for like the amount that's designated for maintenance. The remaining, I'm reading the text. The remaining balance should be used solely for the following purposes within and immediately adjacent to the Greater U Street Performance Parking Zone. So I did that, and then it lists place management initiatives, public space maintenance, public safety initiatives, transportation safety and public space improvements, and support for businesses. But in terms of area, so it would be the zone, and then I guess immediately adjacent to it. I think if that answers your question.
Great. That answers my question. I'll save my comments for later. Thank you.
Commissioner Kensick.
Yeah, I have a comment and a question. People that have the Zone 1 sticker in their vehicle, would they still have to pay any type of fee? They would not. Great. That's awesome. I will say, I think with what Chairwoman Gal and Commander Boltler have done recently in the last couple of years have made it a lot safer where people are feeling a little more comfortable to park on the street. And obviously we know if we're getting more cars coming in, I know not everyone loves cars, I know that, but we're also bringing in more business for 14th Street. So I commend this effort. I think it's great. And I appreciate all your hard work on this. Thank you.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Commissioner Sycamore, you're on mute.
Sorry, I thought I hit the right button. Just quick question. Two quick questions, really. I noticed that this does go into 1E, Specifically, I think it's Commissioner Footer's district. Like, right, have they taken up this issue at all? Do you know?
They've taken up there. I believe my understanding is that they are going to take up the issue. The blocks that I included that are border, I only included blocks that have at least half of it within ANC 1B. So there are a couple. So the 700, 800 blocks of V Street, they border ANC 1E, and so do the blocks. The 2300 to 2500 blocks of Sherman Avenue also border ANC 1E, but they have the other half of the street is within ANC 1B.
Right. Okay. And another quick question is, as far as like visitor parking, this looks like it's going into 24 hours. Will DDOT be issuing some sort of visitor parking for residents on the blocks that are affected, or is there any sort of resolution on that? Like what we used to have?
You mean like the visitor parking passes that people can print at the police station? You mean like those? The ones that
Yeah. So,
are
yeah,
visitor
because
RFP?
they used to have ones that you could keep at your house permanently, and you'd renew like every 2 years. I was wondering if there's any sort of solutions like that, or do we have to continue to go into the police stations for that?
Well, I think that is a broader issue in terms of that. And what you have, I believe you still do have to go to the police station. My understanding is that but to be clear, if you have those stickers, you can, that like thing, you can still use the ROP like parking for this. So that doesn't change from like the now to the zone being implemented.
Okay, I guess I'm just wondering, just because I have just a couple of concerns, like if people have like some long-term visitors or anything, but I guess I'll have to figure that out. But no, and I appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much.
Okay, I do see some Q&A. I do have one question though. And I don't know if this was already covered or this was covered in transportation. Are there any like projections of how much like revenue this like could bring in for a placemaking entity?
I don't know. I don't want to put the council member's representative on the spot, but I don't know if as a part of the budget there was a fiscal revenue study or something of the sort. I'm not aware of any specifically, but that might have been something that DDOT did.
Do you know the lotto numbers that are coming up soon too?
I think projecting revenue is a fair question. That's typically what is considered in matters like this. I don't know, Nicole, do you have any ideas on that? Not to put you on the spot. If not, it's okay. It just was a general
Yeah.
question I had.
I'm gonna have to check with my team on that because I do not have that in front of me. But happy to follow up with everyone on that. And then just want to follow up on the previous question. You can currently use the Park DC app and website to print visitor parking passes at home. You don't have to go to a police station for that. And this wouldn't impact the ability for residents to provide those parking passes to their visitors, to their contractors, to someone doing work at their home. Everything for residents remains as it is today with their access. So hopefully that's helpful for folks.
That is, thank you. And Cedric, if you can go ahead and post that into the chat for folks to see. I think the reason why I'm asking too, this would, I think, impact our recommendations of identifying, I guess, a bid-like organization or some sort of placemaking entity, depending on how much revenue is potentially projected. I know there's no guarantees. But I think it's important to have that maybe data point if it's available. Okay, there were 3 community questions. First one, is this only existing paid parking? I think that question is yes.
Yes, it's only they are not, and it except for the new 2-hour / RPP zones that they're making paid, it would only be paid parking that's already there. But as we put in the resolution, we are asking that they include all the paid parking that is within the zone, not just the ones that they did, because they left some out.
And then another one, a request to include, I think there was the 2000 block of Vermont Avenue, but this person requested the 1800 block of Vermont Avenue as well.
Yeah, that was an error on my part, Matthew. I'll be sure to add that in. I was intending to put that one in as well.
Thank you. And then another question, would the current U Street Main Street program count as a placemaking organization?
So if you don't mind, I'll handle this one. We'll talk more about this when we get to the Economic Development Committee area. I imagine it could, but the sentiment from the Economic Development Committee members seemed to be that there was a desire for broader community control over such a community placemaking entity. For example, one member suggested of the Economic Development Committee suggested that we make sure to include a renter in the area and a homeowner in the area. So the U Street Main Streets does wonderful stuff, but the purpose of that entity does not seem to match the purpose of the entity as foreseen by what the current Economic Development Committee discussions. We haven't passed any resolutions. We won't be doing anything on that yet. But that's just to give a quick answer is that's not currently the sentiment of the Economic Development Committee from the discussion so far.
And Commissioner Jones, would you go ahead and add, I guess, your contact info for economic development and maybe just like a potential timeline of when you're gonna maybe discuss this, if it's next month or the following month?
Sure. Yeah, we started. Yeah,
Okay.
we started discussing this. I think 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and that's why I'm able to recall some of this now. I think there was further discussion last month, and I imagine it'll be on the agenda again this month.
Okay.
So I will add my information to the chat and to that question.
Great. I guess a clarifying question. I see. Thank you for putting this into the chat, Cedric, of that comments on the NOI are due by September 13th. Does that also mean comments on like the placemaking entity, or do we have more time for that?
Well, the placemaking entity wouldn't be able to happen until there's funding, and the zone will not be implemented until the beginning of the fiscal year, or like at the latest. So there, we're months out from that. Is my understanding.
Can you quickly address when, just because I know some of us operate on different quarters, when is the start of the fiscal year if it would be implemented?
Thank you for the reminder. I was putting my treasurer hat on. The district government operates on the federal fiscal quarters. So the first day of the new fiscal year is October 1st. So that is when technically DDOT is required to have this implemented by law. So that is when, hypothetically, we would begin seeing the price changes, and then revenue coming in, and that would go into the special purpose revenue fund for it. And then all that is now on Commissioner Jones's area of work.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I think that's an important distinction because I think there's a lot of feedback that folks have for the placemaking entity, and probably still a lot of feedback for the performance parking zone anyway. But thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any other community comments or questions. Commissioners, do you have any other questions? Or Commissioner Lakatos, would you like to raise a motion for this resolution?
Yes, I would. I would like to move that the full ANC adopt the NOI 24-184-TOA Greater U Street Performance Parking Zone comment resolution as I presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Jones. Also, please can you raise your hands? I saw that, but please raise your hand so that I can see. But Commissioner Jones, go ahead. And Commissioner Trindade Duramo, yes, timer. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion. I move that the draft resolution be amended to include the 1800 block of Vermont Avenue, which was inadvertently not included.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Okay, I'm assuming Commissioner Handerhan and Commissioner Chauvin, this is for. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Handerhan.
It seems like there's a lot of support for this already, so I don't want to belabor the point. I'll be enthusiastically voting for this. I think I am less interested in the details of the performance parking plan and more interested in what we can get from a community place-based entity. I think that we will be very involved in this as an ANC, and identifying a funding stream in this way feels like equitable and responsible and smart and thoughtful. And I give a lot of credit to DDOT, to the commissioners who've been involved, the council member's office who has also been a leader on how this could happen. And I really think this will be a great thing for our neighborhood. It will probably require tweaks down the line and adjustments, but I'm really excited to vote yes on this.
Commissioner Chauvin. You are on mute, Commissioner Chauvin.
I would like to forward a motion to add a small provision regarding protection of neighborhoods. And the reason for this, residential adjacent streets, I don't know whether it's U Street from U Street, extending from U Street, or more just a generic of the import of protecting residential streets. And here's the issue. There has been no study by DDOT on how this NOI will affect residential streets. Do you believe that? I had a hard time believing that. And the reason is because there is no parking meters on residential streets generally in around U Street, and therefore they couldn't measure how much was or wasn't being used, how much these spaces are being used. So there's no planning and data that support how this measure before us will affect residential neighborhoods. So that attended to a lot of the discussion at the meeting held by Commissioner Lakatos. And so therefore it's important that they understand the importance to this commission that neighborhood streets should be protected, and they're not really quickly evolving or implementing measures to do that because it's hard work. And so when will it happen? I don't know. They're looking at it. I just want to include, please, 3 sentences, 2 sentences even, Commissioner Lakatos, if you would consider regarding importance of focusing on measures to maintain and improve parking in residential streets and the protection of residential streets.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
You need to make a motion. I did not hear any movement.
Before Chauvin makes the motion, might I offer some language, some specific language? I'm hearing you and trying to think. I'm sorry, but to add an additional, be it further resolved that ANC 1B requests that DDOT study the impact of the parking zone on residential parking when implemented, and that it prioritize the protection of said parking within the zone as a part of that implementation.
That sounds perfect. I'd love that. Thank you.
Okay, then so you want to withdraw whatever motion you
I will withdraw and allow you to take over.
There was no motion, so make the motion.
Okay, I will make the motion. Madam Chair, I have a motion.
Sure.
I move that we amend the resolution to add an additional, be it further resolved, that ANC 1B requests that DDOT study the impact of the performance parking zone when implemented, and that it prioritize protecting residential parking within the zone as a part of that implementation.
Do we have a second? Discussion?
Second.
Commissioner Trindade Durama.
Just quickly, can you clarify what protection means?
That's actually a good point. Maybe we shouldn't use such vague language. Or I was just coming up with that on the fly. Someone has a good synonym for, I was thinking more just maybe preservation. I don't know. This is a tough, Commissioner Chauvin.
Reduce adverse impacts because there has been no review of the adverse impacts.
But there has also not been any review of any impacts at all. So
yes, there have.
It hasn't been implemented, just as Commissioner Lakatos said, so we don't know what any positive or negative consequences are.
There's been a study as to why these approved select few streets that are outlined on the second map that we saw. There's been study as to why these should be included.
We're not disagreeing. We're talking about the word protection and trying to add specificity to it.
So I'm talking about ensure reduction of adverse impacts. We want to disincentivize people to go find cheap parking in all the residential streets because now it's too expensive in those few streets that they delineated. So,
Madam
Okay,
Chair,
Commissioner Lakatos.
may I restate my motion?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to move that the resolution be amended with an additional be it further resolved that ANC 1B requests that DDOT study the impact of the zone when implemented and that it seek to reduce, it seek to,
reduce adverse impacts.
Yeah, thank you. Reduce adverse impact on the availability of residential parking through the implementation of the zone.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Okay, so this is the new motion. This is,
Yes.
okay, this is, okay. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay. Back to the original resolution. We have 2 amendments. There any other discussion items? Go ahead, Commissioner Lakatos.
I just wanted to add another point of clarification. I'm forgetting who may have said this, but this is that DDOT has shown very much a willingness to make like changes to the zone in reaction to sort of how these how those effects are happening. So they're very they're trying to be very nimble, which is surprising for municipal government. No hate on them, but so I think that's a really good thing, which also means that what we are voting on and sort of the things we're asking for can change depending on what the effects are, and then they can kind of like respond a little bit. Obviously, we're not talking like, they're going to get something done in a week, but like if we see something as a pattern, they might be able to take action on it. So that's just something for people to remember as this zone goes forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones.
Thanks. So to get to Commissioner Chauvin's point, I think it sounds like the risk and the adverse effects that we're fearing are that instead of reducing congestion and parking in this area, that it'll just spread that out from a concentrated area and dispersing it into more residential areas. I think that's a good thing to be concerned about. And that's why I'm grateful that Commissioner Lakatos and the Transportation Committee have put together a draft resolution asking that the zone be expanded, right? Basically, the people will only walk so far to get to the club before they'll just start paying for something. And the more streets that we include in this in this parking performance area, the less people will want to walk a mile to go get free parking. So I'm really grateful that some of that's being addressed and that we're going to continue to prioritize parking for residents and paid parking for visitors. I also want to emphasize that, especially overnight, many people who come to U Street after, say, 6 p.m. or later come to drink alcohol or otherwise become inebriated. And reducing driving into our neighborhood, to and from our neighborhood, is a major public safety benefit that we could have from this. So I'm really grateful for the anticipated impact on public safety through reducing the number of people driving and parking in our area. Thanks.
Okay. Any other discussion points? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, 1 non-voting. I don't know where he went.
Madam Chair, I believe there were 8 yes votes. Commissioner Fields is present now.
Oh, apologies. You're right. 8 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, 1 non-voting. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Lakatos, anything else?
Yeah, just so in 2 weeks, or rather 1 week and 6 days, the next Transportation Committee meeting is happening on Wednesday, August 14th at 7 p.m. We are having a presentation from DDOT, who is providing an update to the 11th Street Northwest protected bike lane project, which has been delayed due to staff turnover. So there's the project. There's an update from the new person who was assigned. That if you want to register for that, you can go to anc1b.org and register on the Zoom link. If you're interested, if you have any other questions about the committee or anything of the sort, feel free to email me at 1b04@anc.dc.gov. I will add a personal privilege point, which there are people who are waiting for my emails. I'm getting back from abroad around a week ago, and I'm catching up. We don't have access to our ANC emails while we're traveling internationally, but so I appreciate the patience of folks who have reached out. And that's it.
Thank you.
Point of privilege. Can you add my name to the last vote? I was set off because of technology, just asking my name to be added to the last vote. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Chauvin, just if you can raise your hand and I will recognize you instead of interrupting in the middle. We already got your comment. We already got it. Was that it?
That was it. Thank you.
Okay. What was your vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you for that. Commissioner Lakatos, if you can put that information into the chat around the 11th Street protected bike lane. I know that there are a lot of feelings around it, a lot of thoughts, comments, and everything. So I want to make sure that community members have that space at the Transportation Committee to also flag it for DDOT. So if you can add that in, we will make sure to also put that on the website so people know that this is going to be a point of discussion. And I also echo your comments too about being out of the country. I was also out of the country for a week. I did not have access to my ANC email until yesterday. So if folks have not heard from me, it's because of that.
And excuse me, Chair, I'm gonna also join that. Even in Puerto Rico, where I just got back from yesterday, even though it's United States, I didn't have access to my ANC, so I'm catching up for the last week. I know there's an individual who's been writing a lot, and I have to go through those emails. So there's a couple of us, I think, have to go through some emails.
We'll echo it too in the admin section as well. Okay, moving on. ZPD, Commissioner Jones.
Thanks. I'll keep it concise. The ZPD committee met. We did not vote on any items. We did have a case that we anticipated, but the applicant or their representation had a family emergency and could not attend. So what we did talk about, one moment, we spoke briefly about the Greater U Street Historic District's design standards. Commissioner Chauvin noted that the Greater U Street Historic District does not seem to have any specific design standards. This makes it a little complicated to try to figure out whether something does or does not match the historic character of the district. And so I've asked Commissioner Chauvin to check in with the Historic Preservation Office on that topic to see why we have a historic district without any historic preservation standards, and what we can do, what the consequences of that are, and what we can do, if anything, to remedy that situation. So if you're interested in that, that'll probably be at the September meeting of the Zoning Preservation and Development Committee, because we anticipate a packed agenda at our August meeting. So I'll just briefly go through the anticipated agenda for the August meeting of ANC 1B's zoning.
If you can, Commissioner Jones, if you can make it brief, there's a lot here, and I would strongly encourage you to post it into the chat along with the registration link so people have that. But there is a lot, so if you can go through it briefly and then post it so then people can go back and read it.
Sure. So for reference, this is all also included in the minutes in the agenda for this document and in the minutes for the previous ZPD meeting. The next meeting of ANC 1B's ZPD committee will take place on Monday, August 19th at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. I'll put that in the chat briefly. We anticipate 3 items. The first item is a 1916 3rd Street Northwest. That's 1916 3rd Street Northwest. The applicant is looking for a conceptual review for a rear addition. The second item is a large item. This is the Howard University Hospital redevelopment and proposed map amendment. They may not be able to speak next month, but we're hoping they will. But that is changing the zoning in a large area around Howard University Hospital. Most of that area is represented by Advisory Neighborhood Commission 1E, but some of it is represented by Advisory Neighborhood Commission 1B. On that, Howard University has been in discussions with the Detroit Park Civic Association for months now, which is part of why we haven't seen it yet, because we're trusting them to get some of the details done and going to have a more finalized product for us to give comments on. And finally, the third anticipated item for the August meeting of ANC 1B's ZPD committee is at 527 Florida Avenue Northwest, 527 Florida Avenue Northwest. The applicant is proposing an open rear deck to be added to an existing residential apartment building. So I'll put that in for, I'll put my contact information and the link to the next meeting in the chat. But once again, the next meeting is Monday, August 19th at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. Thank you. Commissioner Handerhand, is this a question for ZPD?
If that's okay, I can be quick.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, I was trying to find my, I couldn't unmute myself, so go ahead.
How do I frame this as a question? So on the Howard Hospital redevelopment, just because it's a pretty fluid situation that a lot of people are tracking, wanted to just kind of put out the word that the Detroit Park Community Civic Association and me as the SMD ANC there are working really closely with Howard. They've been a great partner, very transparent about their plans and wanting to make sure whatever they do is done in a way that's really thoughtful around the southern edge of the site, which is right up against two-story row homes. I will say that the plans for the hospital are not exactly what they were even a couple months ago. And so the Detroit Park Civic Association will be having a community meeting probably in September to talk about what we've learned recently from Howard. The original plans we've talked about here, which include upzoning to MU9, MU10, which we're very supportive of at the Detroit level, may not actually be the plan anymore. So I don't want to belabor that here. If anyone is tracking, I do want people to know it's a static situation and it's not what we might have shared previously. The reality on the ground is not what we shared previously. Happy to drop my email in if anyone wants to ask any more questions, but I defer to Commissioner Jones on the committee.
Let's also make sure that even though this is in part of ANC 1B, let's, make sure that we prioritize ANC 1E's response because this is in their commission. And although we have, I guess, part of it, we do want to make sure that their position is prioritized because it's mostly in 1E. So Commissioner Jones.
It's mostly 1B.
Oh, it's mostly 1B. Okay, scratch what I said. However, I will say, Commissioner Jones, if you can invite the 1E commissioners to the ZPD meeting, I think that's important to add them there.
Sure. I know they're also doing their own process in parallel. And actually, one of the reasons why we couldn't have Howard University at our last ZPD meeting was that they were in discussions with 1E. So I'm glad that Howard University is also coordinating with them.
Sure. Just please add them just so we can make sure that they are involved and they have their kind of say in this, as I'm sure, and I will convey to Chair Footer to make sure that whatever meetings they have, that we are also invited as well. Okay. Moving on, and I need to step away for 1 minute. So Vice Chair Handerhan, if you can take over, but ABR, Commissioner Fields.
Yeah, of course. So we did meet this month. We reviewed 2 licenses, one which we voted on in our last meeting in July. That was for a YOLO establishment. We invited the owner of that establishment to come speak. And so he came and talked to us about what he hopes to do for the neighborhood. For those of you who don't know, that's an establishment at the corner of 14th and U Street. So that was a great conversation. And we also invited the Director of Nightlife and Culture, Salasa Perry, to come talk with us a little bit about issues that have been happening with Thirst Lounge. So we had Commissioner Kinzik hop on and sort of discuss what they've done to put in some noise monitors inside of the lounge to make sure that residents in the area are having an appropriate noise level. and just continuing to work with them on a potential settlement agreement or anything else that could help mitigate any issues for surrounding neighbors. And then, of course, the license that we're reviewing tonight, which I know a lot of people have weighed in on, would be for the Crank Corner, which is applying for a medical cannabis license. They're located at 1915 7th Street Northwest. They're in Commissioner Chauvin's district, and the APCA committee voted not to protest. Just due to the fact that the entity has been in the area for quite some time. There was no issue with trash or noise, even though we did receive some comments weighing in otherwise. So I know that we're excited to, start talking about that. The entity has been invited and they're supposed to be logging onto the call. He just texted me saying that he's working on getting that out of his email. I'm not sure if you guys want to move forward with community comments right now in the meantime, or how you guys like to handle that.
Apologies, I had to use the restroom, so that's why I started. I think I caught the tail end of it. I know we're discussing this one item. I know there was significant back and forth on this. I would encourage you though, Commissioner Fields. I know that you had mentioned something in regard to there was no, I guess, violations of trash and things. However, I think there were some community concerns, so I don't want to erase that. I think it's also important that we do listen to the commissioner whose SMD this is in. Whose SMD is this in? Whose SMD is this in?
Moi.
Okay, Commissioner Sherman. I think that that's what we've done in the past. So I'd be curious to hear from Commissioner Chauvin, what maybe the community concerns are. If there are any, and then we can go from there. I also would ask, sorry, before you go, Commissioner Chauvin, one other question is, what are we voting on? Is there a settlement agreement? Is there a recommendation for a protest? Like what's on the table? I know there was no motion raised, but what is on the table right now?
Yes. So right now, the entity establishment owner has agreed to a settlement agreement, which we have on record, which is standard for most medical cannabis retailers. So he's agreed to that. And I don't know if you missed it, but he did say he would be hopping on the call tonight. So I'm checking now to see if he's there. They don't have any violation history with APCA because again, it would be a new license for a medical cannabis retailer. I feel like there was another question that I forgot to address that maybe you asked about. I'm not sure.
What are we voting on?
Right. So the committee voted not to protest this establishment, but we're voting on whether or not to protest their medical cannabis retailer license.
Okay, but what's up with I thought I saw a settlement agreement. Is there a settlement agreement or is that still being worked on?
There's a settlement agreement which the establishment owner has agreed to sign.
Have they signed it?
They have not sent me back a signed copy yet. But they've agreed.
Okay. Sorry, I have a lot of questions here. Has Commissioner Chauvin, has he been at the table to negotiate the settlement agreement?
Yes, so earlier this week, I sent you all a copy of the settlement agreement, and then on the placard is listed the establishment owner's information. So he's had access to go there or to reach out to the owner again after that email saying that he was open to a settlement agreement. From there, I don't think there's been any contact at all, but Commissioner Chauvin can speak more intimately to those details.
Okay, Commissioner Trindade Duramo and then Commissioner Chauvin, if you have any thoughts, and then I would be curious to hear your thoughts on the settlement agreement and your involvement on that. But go ahead, Commissioner Trindade Duramo.
Sorry, one more thing. I see him in the chat. This is Donald Campbell, who's the establishment owner. I don't know if we want to elevate him to speak after Commissioner Chauvin or before, but he's here.
Yeah, actually, Commissioner Trindade Duramo, if you have a question for Commissioner Fields, but I am curious to hear from Mr. Campbell, about, yeah, whatever questions that we might have, I'm curious to hear the community involvement, things like that. But yeah, go ahead, Commissioner. Trinidad Drama. And then let's, Mr. Campbell, if you want to speak, go ahead and raise your hand if you can. I don't want to just promote you if you don't want to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's more a question for you, or just a procedural question. I want to pick up on what you asked Commissioner Fields. Since the committee did not send a resolution to us on this matter, can you talk about the procedure that we're following here? What normally happens when the committee declines to protest? Why has the matter come to us at all?
Right. So we
Let me go ahead and answer that, Commissioner Fields. I think that's more in my purview. This is just general committee matters, and then if you have specifics to add on ABR, go ahead and chime in after. So in terms of when, it still will always come before the commission if it's a new placard. And just like we did, even though this is not preferable, I would strongly urge the committees to handle matters because there are committee members who have been involved for years. But so last month or the month prior, there was a establishment that came before us. And the committee had recommended that they defer to my judgment as the commissioner of jurisdiction. And I had not heard any complaints about the establishment. I rechecked my email, and so we are the voting body. The committee makes recommendations for the ANC, but if we find at the commission that we need to go against the committee's recommendation, we are in full right to do so. However, I would strongly urge, and we've done this in the past, and Commissioner Chauvin has been upset over this, that we have gone against committee recommendations. So when we do go against committee recommendations, there needs to be a really good reason why. There also needs to be a really good reason why we go against a commissioner of jurisdiction's recommendation as well too. They know their SMD very well. And so there needs to be very good reason why we would go against that commissioner's recommendation too. So Commissioner Fields, I don't know if you have any specifics on that. I will say, sorry, one last moment. I don't mean to cut you off, but one last thing is we need to make sure that we are looking at the timing of this, and if we are voting to approve a settlement agreement, we should do that. I believe you shared the placard, so we need to go back and look at what the deadlines are for protest and make sure, we get that in as well. Go ahead, Commissioner Fields. I apologize.
No, no worries. I know this is great background, but just reiterating what you were saying about that, placards will always come before the commission because we have the final vote. And in this instance, with the medical cannabis license, ANC commissions are the only bodies that have the grounds to protest an entity. So this is another reason why a lot of community residents are, specifically passionate about weighing in, just sort of to speak more so to the Crank Corner. They've been in the area for quite some time. The owner is also the owner of Central Communications, which I mentioned we toured with Council Member McDuffie on Juneteenth. They were also one of the businesses in the area that was protested for Don't Mute DC. And so, there's a lot of background there, a lot of history there. I know Mr. Campbell is here. He said he doesn't know how to raise his hand, but he does want to speak.
Okay.
So if
Cedric, can you go ahead and take but thank you. Thank you for that. I just wanted to confirm. I didn't want to without Mr. Campbell, if you want to say anything on your establishment, you can do so.
Yeah, good evening. I've been can you guys hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for joining
Yes.
us this evening.
Okay, good. First, good to meet everybody. First time meeting most of you guys. Hello?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yes. We basically applied for the cannabis license. I've been on that corner June of '95. I run a cell phone business. I've been there for some time, and we haven't had any major incidents. I think we can do what's required under the settlement, and I think we can it was needed.
Okay, great. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Campbell? Please raise your hand.
Yes.
Please raise. Commissioner Sycamore.
Hello, thank you so much for coming. Really quickly, what I'm trying to think of a way to express this. Did you the reason for expanding your business? Is there a reason behind that? Is there no medical cannabis licenses in the area that you know of, or I mean, because it seems just like for me, it seems a little odd to go from like a cell phone, you know, store to now selling medical cannabis. Is there a gap in the market, or is there any sort of can you just give me a little bit more background on this, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, if you ever been by my location, there's two sides to my store. I have one side which is a cell phone business, and I have a one side that I do repairs. I do the go-go music, and we do the cannabis. So it's definitely the license became available, and I decided to enter the market with that. Yes, helped when I originally started. We started doing the giveaways with the CDs were kind of dying. Like I've been selling go-go music since 1995, trying to keep the bands alive, and so we started giving out the CDs as gifts, and it was a way to promote a dying industry. And I started it, and when the license became available, I applied, and we were successful.
So, do you know if there's any other medical cannabis licenses in the area that are in proximity to you? And so, is this a license transfer? It sounds like, or is this a whole new license?
License. I think there's two. I see there's one on 10th Street. I think there's one on 10th and U, and there's another one on 5th. I think at 5th and Florida Avenue, and I think they're more than 500 feet or 700 feet that's required.
Yeah, I think thank you for that question, Commissioner Sycamore. I think that is important. I think this is very new, I think, for all of us, but there is a I think legal requirement that there can't be any other medical cannabis, which is moving a lot of the I-71 gifting shops into a licensed shop, but they can't be within 400 feet of each other.
That's correct.
Okay, and I guess my next question, thank you so much, Chairperson, for clarifying that. So I guess my question is, what's the difference? Like, what is the main difference of your establishment moving from a gifting shop to a medical cannabis license? Is there a difference in clientele? Is there a difference in the products you can sell? Can you expand on that a little bit for me, please?
Definitely got to be different. You have to be medical. So we're basically going from the I-71 side of it to the medical side, where you have to be a licensed patient. So it's definitely going to be a whole different process. That's correct.
Sorry, I don't know if I can add here too, but sort of when you also get the medical cannabis license, one of the things that the ABCA is going to enforce is that the DC Department of Buildings, DC Department of Health, and ABCA are also going to be agencies overseeing the products that are sold at the site. In addition to just your ID, you also have to present a medical card and other things like that, which aren't really required at I-71 shops as well.
Correct.
Thank you for that clarification. I think that's important. Commissioner Kinsick.
Yeah,
I apologize. Commissioner Sycamore, did you have anything further? I think you had some time left.
Yeah, so just one more point of clarification. So your establishment can't run both a medical cannabis license dispensary and an I-71. They have to be completely separate. Is that correct? Or maybe it's for Commissioner Fields. I'm sorry, what did you say, Mr. Campbell?
Oh, yeah, they definitely got it. We're applying for the medical license. The I-71, it will be non-existent at that time. That's
Got
correct.
it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right.
Commissioner Kinsick. Sorry, go ahead now.
Mr. Campbell, it's great to hear that you've been in business since 1995. I commend you on that. I've heard your go-go music as I've gone by the area. Actually love go-go music now. One of my things I'd like to hear from you is how have you helped that area in general? Because I think we all know Me living here 8 years now, that seventh and T, and it's it's had its issues over the years. How have you helped to the community to help just put yourself out there trying to do the best you can with what you have and working with everyone on this on the matter?
On this particular matter, I think I helped myself tremendously. I have local employees that are from the city, for one. I think just being able to survive in this climate doing retail business with all this going on, we've been definitely hurt by that CVS that closed on the corner clientele. So in this market, it's been tremendously hard. There's no other retailers that are by me. So I've been struggling just to survive at this point because there's retailers are dying in my particular block. So just to be able to survive this climate has been, you had to transition to something else. It's been difficult. During the years, I've been there so long, I have so many customers that have been moved out, moved in, and been in that market for so long. That's been, that's the reason I've been able to survive. You know what I mean? My longevity. Hello?
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I was watching the camera. It looks like Commissioner Kinsick doesn't have any further questions. Commissioner Handerhan.
Mr. Campbell, thanks for joining us tonight. I live at 6th and U, so big fan of your corner establishment. I think that I've heard from a number of residents who are nervous about your newer business in the neighborhood, given the fact that it's related to marijuana sales, which is a lot different than illicit drugs and illegal drugs. I know that, you know that. But given the fact that the 6th and T intersection is such a known kind of drug center, I would love to hear what you would tell neighbors about how your business is different and specifically around all the work that you have done to date and will be doing in the future around public safety for your clients and your staff.
Yeah, I think just being there so long, I think my business is totally different than what's going on the street. For one, I think, I looked at the I-71 piece, we decided to do that. And when a license became available, I wanted to do it the right way. So I filled out all the paperwork, did all the procedures that I needed to do. And I wanted to separate myself from what was going on the street. Those are not my clients. So I'm other community, but those clients are dealing with the streets, has nothing to do with my particular retail establishment. It says those are, there's an element. Those people that are out there are not the people that shop in these type of stores. You know what I mean?
That's helpful. Just a quick follow-up. I think this might be in the settlement agreement, but we didn't have a ton of time to review it before this meeting. So can you just remind us of like the security procedure, like how many people can be in the store at any given time and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Well, the way that it works, we're going to have a buzzer. We're going to have somebody working the front door. I mean, the side door to be able to get in. In order to get in, once it becomes legitimate and we get the license, you have to have a license to even enter the establishment. So the customers are going to be more on a one-to-one basis at that particular time. So it's almost like a pharmacy. So you can't come in there unless you have a license to come in. You have to have the cannabis license.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Chauvin.
Yes, Mr. Campbell, thanks for joining us this evening. Few questions. Is it required that your your CD business, your go-go business is in fact separated from the medical cannabis store, or are you unaware of the requirements there?
Once everything's approved, we're going to actually move the CD part into the part where the cell phones are sold. We're just going to be doing the cannabis in the backside of the store. That's correct.
So they'll be separate and locked entry requirements, right?
Yes,
There
sir.
will be
That's
no
correct.
access from 7th Street, only access from Florida into the medical cannabis shop. Am I correct?
Absolutely correct.
All right. My other question is, you know, it's a challenging time in these blocks, and I'm wondering what you consider any resolution to what's going on outside your door there, and if you can commit to anything, an improvement, any help with what's going on outside your door. With the toughest place for legal drug sales in Northwest Washington, you know, IV drug use, stabbings, shootings right outside your door. I'm wondering what you might commit to in the community to help resolve, because there's been a group meeting for a couple years trying to work on this, and you know, there's deep concerns about an operation moving in here that will increase sort of the traffic. We know it, you know, cannabis is now legalized upon granting of a license, but you know, we are concerned. Hello? I
Sorry.
guess,
What is that? What was
Yeah.
that noise? Or Commissioner Shogun, your time is up.
Yeah, I don't know what-
Apparently, Zoom has changed the beat to like playing off the Oscars award
Yeah.
like winner music. Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's strange.
Yeah, I think that's the reason. That's a great question. I'm glad you posed that question, because most of the legal, I've been there for some time, like we keep going over that. Most of the legal activity is not in front of my store. Most of the legal activity is down on 7th and T Street. That's where the activity, no activity is from my corner to Florida Avenue. We have no illegal activity right there in front of
sure.
my store. Around the corner, 400 or 500 feet away, I see there's a lot of activity outside, but that has nothing to do with my particular business. Those people outside that are doing what they're doing, they have nothing to do with my retail establishment. They're mostly in front of the bank, and they're around the street from me. But once we get legalized, those are not my customer base. So I don't know nothing what's going on outside, but we're going to follow the laws and requirements that are necessary to keep the license available.
Sure. I just have one quick follow up. It'll take me 10 seconds here. It's actually, we understand the genesis, and it's sort of the renowned name called 7th and T as sort of the naming to describe difficulties going on in these several blocks. However, just a door or two over from you, there's, you know,
doors,
6 people sitting out front day and night. And there's an illegal cannabis pot shop going on. Illegal, meaning it,
Commissioner Chauvin, you had 10 seconds that you said. What is the question that you have here?
Correct.
it's a lot closer to his store. It's not 500 feet away. It's the whole block of the 1900 block of 9th Street that is in challenge here, and I will discuss more as my opportunity allows here during this conversation. Thank you.
It's not in front of my store. If you go down, it's like 3 or 4 stores down from my store. They're not in my particular block in my store. They're at least, there's right beside me, there's a liquor store and there's a beer store. So they're at least 3 stores away from my establishment, the people that are hanging outside. I don't allow anybody to hang on my block in front of my store. They have to move on, and they keep it moving. I have no issues. You can come there every day. There's nobody. You might get a couple of people dancing out front at the most, but people are walking and going. There's nobody hanging in front of my store. Never have, never will be. I never allowed that, and I don't intend to allow it now. And I've been here since '95. There's no incidents reports. There's no nothing on my block in front of my store. So those other stores, I can control as much as I can control, but I can't control somebody that's 4 or 5 stores down that's on the street. I can help, you know, do what I can do, but I can't control 4 or 5 blocks that's doing street activity. I think the police got to help out as well in that situation.
I mean, I think that's a fair point. I will also echo, and sorry, Commissioner Trindade Jerome, I see your hand up, but I'm going to chime in here just for a second with a question. I think we are all aware here there's no anti-loitering laws in DC, so it's really difficult to put the responsibility on a store owner. I will say though that we all see that there is a interconnected ecosystem with businesses, and so I think the questions that are raised are really valid. I think I'd really be curious to hear, and we've asked other establishments this, not just medical marijuana, but we've asked, bars and restaurants and things, what are your plans like for community involvement? I know that there are several establishments in my SMD that host cleanups, that host different community events, that are able to sponsor. I also recognize it's incredibly difficult to own and operate a business. My aunt just got into town. I'm away from DC right now, and she owns her own restaurant in Charlottesville, Virginia, and it is so difficult to operate. So I hear your struggles, and I, really think it's important that you have diversified your business. I think that's really valuable for you. But I am curious to hear what are the ways that you are going to stay involved with the community, because this is such a new license that is coming into DC.
Okay. That's pretty open. I'm open to any suggestions in that aspect, but I've helped over the years. I helped schools, I helped kids, I helped book drives, coat drives. I've helped so many kids and so many schools over the years. It's countless opportunities I've helped over the years with supplies, with I gave away cell phones, I give away backpacks every year. There's so many things I've done over the years. We can start with it's so many that it's hard to even name all the stuff I've done over the 29 years.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Trindade-Drama.
Thank you. There were two issues that I think were sort of teased out there that I would like to hear a little bit more about them. Maybe Commissioner Fields can speak to the first and Commissioner Chauvin to the second. The first question I have is, what is the situation? Somebody mentioned the illegally operating cannabis shops on that block. What's the legal situation and the enforcement situation with them right now? And then the second question is, I understand the objections from the community because of the what's happening in the vicinity. I'm very clear on that, but would like to hear it drawn a little bit more clearly what the supposed connection is between this business and the illegal activity on the street. I don't know why we would treat this business different than any other category of business seeking to open on this block, notwithstanding some kind of evidence that this type of business contributes to illicit activity on the street. What's the causation there that you're trying to make for not allowing this type of business on this block?
Are you asking the commissioners? Am I correct, Commissioner?
I think you are Commissioner Trindade-Drama, right?
Yeah, the first question on the illegally operating shops, I was hoping maybe Commissioner Fields would, but if anybody, whoever knows more about their legal situation of what's going on with MPD and enforcement, that'd be great to hear from.
I'll provide on that. The internet, there's an illegal internet operation 2 doors down in front of the Shaw Howard Deli. You go online, pull up Google right now, go to Google Maps, you'll see a internet pot cannabis business. They sit out front of the Shaw Howard Deli day and night, intervening with people that might utilize the internet 2 doors over. So it's proximity, and it's that disallowance for people to sit there. Unfortunately, as you may all know, ABCA isn't helpful all the time. Well, I'll say all the time with respect to enforcement of settlement agreements. There's a settlement agreement. There shall be no, anytime there's loitering out in front of that internet shop, the licensee, Shaw Howard Deli, is supposed to call the police, log that, and ask the folks to disband from in front of their shop. They don't do that. and it's very hard for the public to have those provisions enforced. If they were enforced, there might not be the deep problem we have on the block. It would be lessened a little. So they've been trying for years to get this place in compliance, and we missed their protest because it was dropped accidentally by this commission in January or February. We weren't able to protest and therefore handle that problem. So there's that problem there, and that's what I'm speaking to, the internet illegal shop.
Right. Okay. So if I can move along again, I mean, I guess it sort of tease up the
Okay, never
answer to
mind.
the.
Sorry. If I might add, I would also, I mean, the thing that I was referencing was a little bit different. So there are storefronts that are still operating under the I-71 cannabis gift regulation. And so sort of what ABCA has done is put in place this medical cannabis licensing, such that they'll limit shops that are in a certain proximity to one another, establish, regulatory agencies to review products that are being sold and traded. But they are going around and they are having to find these shops. And so once they find the shop, they'll find them the first time, find them a second time, and then continue in a process to sort of help them eliminate their storefront. But until that time, the shops are going to be allowed to, continue to illegally operate unless they're reported or until ABCA agency comes and officially shuts them down. So there is one further down Florida Avenue that's operating. I believe they're called Verified. If you guys have seen, they have like clouds outside their store. It's a blue sort of storefront that doesn't have a medical cannabis license, and there's some other storefronts in the area that ABCA still needs to go around to and shut down. And so sort of when I brought that up, what I was saying was Mr. Campbell is trying to comply with DC regulations, comply with certain standards that ABCA has put in place, as opposed to other agencies that are, or other storefronts that are like less than 2 or 3 blocks away. So that's why I sort of brought that up, if that helps provide any context.
It does, and so that I think kind of tees up the answer to the second question, which is that we haven't seen a connection between properly regulated, licensed, ABCA regulated cannabis shops like this and illicit activity. I have to imagine, right? I'm trying to understand where the objection to this type of business is coming from.
Sure, I'd like to add something here, Commissioner. It's widely known that cash businesses of this sort are problematic. You talk to pull together 5 police officers, okay, you'll hear increased crime, cash business problem in the neighborhood. Federal banks don't particularly work with these establishments, therefore they're outside the banking system. Increased cash, robberies of patrons as they walk by, walk near, leave, etc. That's a huge problem. Police will off record tell you they don't agree with this. However, they don't agree, especially here, that it's because of the nature of the several adjacent blocks, it would be a good idea. So, I don't think it's hard to conclude that exacerbating an area endemic with severe problems needs to be monitored and carefully considered, which is what we're doing here. So.
Okay.
Sure. My question, just to be clear, is that
1 second, Commissioner Trindade-Dromo. I really need to severely correct this. Okay. Commissioner Chauvin, I hear what you're saying, but you kind of spun that in the way that it was on the business's fault of the crime. It is
No.
It is a overall regulatory issue that affects these businesses, and it especially affects DC because we are not a state, we cannot fully legalize marijuana here. So it is unfortunately something that impacts these businesses because it is a huge liability, which is why they have to have safety precautions in place and a security plan that is reviewed by ABCA in place for this. So it is not the fault of the business that they have this liability and this vulnerability. This is just the state of what is happening across DC. So it is not unique to this business. It is something that is across every medical marijuana business in DC.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Jones. Also, folks, let's stick to questions for Mr. Campbell, and then we can move on to the broader discussion. I don't want to waste Mr. Campbell's time on our opinions and thoughts for this. Please stick to those questions and we will discuss this further as to what we are proceeding with. So Commissioner Jones, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell, I'm looking at the draft settlement agreement that, according to Commissioner Fields, you've tentatively agreed to, if not signed yet. It looks like there's a clause in that draft settlement agreement. Let me see if I can find it. Clause 16 is on the security plan. It says the applicant shall comply with the terms of its security plan on file with the ABC board. Have you had a chance to draft those security plans yet? And if you
Yes, I did. Yes.
and could you just overview for us what some of the security features are?
I think, like I said earlier, we're going to do the buzzer. We're going to have a license. We're going to have the buzzer at the door. We're going to only have cannabis in the back, and we're going to have a security guard running in the front. So you can't enter the door unless you present your medical cannabis license. So at that particular time, there's not going to be but one person in at a time as well.
And on that note, one of the concerns that Commissioner Chauvin had was about when bad people know that large amounts of cash are to be found at any one given place, that can attract them to engage in violence and try to take the cash. Is there a plan does part of your security plan attempt to mitigate that risk, either by having some sort of like regular pickup of cash, or some sort of safe situation? Is there something that mitigates the increased risk that large amounts of cash on hand can pose?
Yes, I'm hoping that we get to that amount, but I don't see that being a major issue. As long as we, knock on wood, I've been there some time. I haven't had any major issues since I've been there. And I hope they don't have any in the future, but if we do it according to the plan, I don't see any issues at all with that.
I will also note, totally fair if you can't divulge that information. That seems like a pretty big also security risk if you were to identify what you are doing in regard to your money. So that is okay. I will also say typically commissioners, even with alcohol establishments, the security plan is confidential. It's reviewed,
Right.
supposed to be reviewed by MPD and ABCA. So if that is something that Mr. Campbell can't share a lot of details with us, that's also in many of our other settlement agreements, and that's something that that should be handled by security experts, which I don't believe any of us are. So just wanted to put that out there. Sorry, Commissioner Jones, I think your questions are valid. It's also, I understand Mr. Campbell's perspective and not being able to offer some of that information up.
Yep, agreed. Not trying to get us to get detailed security plans on the record for anybody to go on YouTube and watch later. But yeah,
I think it'd be pretty rare if someone did go and watch our ANC meeting, but yes.
I hope that someone with that sort of dedication would put their skills to a better socially productive use.
Agreed.
But
Agreed.
yeah, Mr. Campbell, thank you for answering the questions. I'm just trying to understand that it seems like you have thought through a lot of the security issues that are being brought up. I, again, don't want a detailed plan, but thank you for outlining some of those security features for us.
Okay.
Commissioner Hanrahan.
Sure, thank you. So Mr. Campbell, is the settlement agreement that was circulated, have you signed it, or are you in agreement?
I just got a second copy today, and I just got home from work. I was just reviewing it, and I was thinking about signing it and having it in before the weekend or first thing Monday. Correct.
Okay, great.
Everything's pretty straightforward. I see on here. It's something we do now. I don't see any major issues. I think everything's pretty straightforward is what I see on here.
Okay, great. So you don't, just in case that there's any confusion, like you're not opposed to signing a settlement agreement.
Yes, I don't have a problem with that.
Based on what you've seen. Okay, yes. Great. I think that's an important way to allay the neighborhood's concerns and get an agreement and standard practice. On the hours of operation, it says 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday. That Those are what you plan to do?
Yeah, yes, it's probably going to be Monday through Saturday from 10 to 7 and 12 to 6 on Sunday. That's correct. That's right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay. Commissioner Chauvin, are these questions for Mr. Campbell?
These are questions for Mr.
Excellent.
Campbell.
Thank you.
Mr. Campbell, can you tell me about the relationship that you hold with MPD? Do you work specifically with any officers currently? And how are you? And if not, are you willing to work with them more closely? I'd like to just hear your thoughts first, and I might have some follow-up questions. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with MP3. I've been there. My relationship's been pretty solid with MP3 over the 29 years. I don't have any problems. I don't know as much of the new staff as I know of the older staff, but I have no issues with MP3 at all. My business is open to everybody. I have no issues, and I'm willing to talk with them. I have no problems whatsoever.
Well, I mean, I think it's important that licensees, alcohol licensees, and cannabis licensees, especially, veering with the concerns held by my constituents and a large part of the community around, that the relationship with the police is very important, and I'd urge you and ask that you know who the lieutenant is, who the captain is, and who the commander is, because I find them to be an important part of the dialogue and resource to mitigate problems around this area. So I appreciate your intent to develop those relationships. Thank you.
Anything further, Commissioner Chauvin?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Campbell. I really appreciate your time and answering all of our questions here this evening. Do you have any further comments before we put you back into the audience?
I'm pretty good. It was great meeting most of you guys. I've seen you, but I don't know everybody. But anybody got any questions or calls or email me, I'm always available. No problem at all.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Okay, I do see a question in the chat from Ms. Karen Gall. Will the settlement agreement attempt to override the civil rights efforts? I'm going to answer this right now. Settlement agreements do not override civil rights efforts. It's Ms. Gall, we've discussed settlement agreements. I know you are very familiar with them, but the settlement agreement doesn't violate any of their rights. And it wouldn't violate, because they're two separate entities, so it wouldn't violate anything that's happening with the other part of his business. Okay, I do see another hand in the chat. Let me just, before we go to that, what is on the table? What are we talking about? Are we talking about a settlement agreement? Are we talking about a protest and a settlement agreement? I will remind commissioners, so as Commissioner Field stated, we are the only parties that can protest a medical marijuana license of this nature. So no groups of five, none of the standard protesting parties. We can also vote to protest. I will say that is a very loaded word. I get it. Protesting, it seems very loaded. It seems like we want to shut down the business. That is not the case. It is to make sure parties are brought to the table, the community is heard via the ANC at this point, and then they will also, we can vote to withdraw the protest as soon as a settlement agreement is signed. So let's say we were to vote tonight to protest You know, and I'm not saying that's what we would do, but if we were vote to do that, we can also add in that we would withdraw it as soon as a signed settlement agreement. So if it came in tomorrow, we wouldn't even probably submit the transmittal to protest. If the settlement agreement came in on Monday, we would send to ABCA that we wouldn't protest. So you know, that is a way that to make sure that the community is heard and we can come to a very quick kind of agreement. So just wanted to put that out there. Okay. So what are we doing? What before we, and please don't raise any motions, we're not doing that yet, but just I want to know what, maybe specifically from you, Commissioner Chauvin, what is your recommendation to the commission? Because I've heard that it seems different from the committee's recommendation. And Commissioner Fields, I will kick it over to you. But we'll also remind commissioners this vote I'm seeing is it was 2 yays for protest, 3 nays, and 1 abstention. So it was a fairly close vote.
Yes, I will just make a few comments regarding, as the commissioner of jurisdiction. There is deep concerns from the neighborhood regarding this area. And all commissioners here have received a substantial set of comments regarding their deep concerns. And I guess a few additionals are forthcoming as soon as we open it up to the floor to the guests this evening. My concern is, as a commissioner of record, I have not seen the markup. I'd like to see the markup, and I would like to compare the original draft template settlement agreement with prior cannabis establishments with this one. And I've been asking for 3 days. I have not seen a copy of that yet. And so on that basis, and on the basis that I have not been asked and brought into the conversation in a substantial way without the proceedings taking place around me, I would like a simple measure. I think everybody could agree that a protest is a good idea so that the community can be protected and the conversations that the community has raised can continue, and that the community can be protected and insured, and the establishment can ensure that they will proceed under the way the community, in partnership with the community, like the place to be operated. So simply that a measure to protest so that we can continue the process in a settlement agreement and then cancel as soon as an agreed upon settlement agreement is brought to the table and signed. It sounds like we're close, but my problem is I haven't seen a comparison to the provisions which were included in all the other settlement agreements as the commissioner of jurisdiction. And I ask for that right, that simple request. I guess I'm getting the area or close up to the symphony again. Thank you. So I think it's simple protest with a little more time, I think, is what I ask for as commissioner of record. Thank you.
I hear you. Commissioner Chauvin, I would encourage you to, I understand, and Commissioner Fields, I believe, has this on hand. The only other settlement agreement that we worked on with a medical marijuana license was Firehouse, which I think is in your SMD, but it predated when you joined the commission. If for some, Commissioner Fields, if you have that, you can send that over to Commissioner Chauvin. The other option you have, Commissioner Chauvin, just like we all do, and the community does as well, you can email ABCA for a copy of that settlement agreement. So, you know, we are all busy with other things going on. And if for some reason Commissioner Fields isn't able to send that to you, you can also email ABCA for that as well.
I have a copy of that. I'm just asking, it's a simple request for a
comparative
document to show the difference.
If you have a copy of it, you can compare the two. That's what I've done in prior.
Sure, but reasonably, everybody has that document when you make changes to a template. I just want to see that. It's not a difficult request. I understand I can visibly.
It's not difficult, but there is something of, you know, you can help yourself in this as well, you know, and I'm happy to sit down with you to look at that comparison. But I will say, you know, this is a collaborative effort that if you can do it, because there are a lot of licenses, there are also a lot of licenses in your SMD, I would encourage you to do so. Okay, I'm gonna end at that. If you have more comments, raise your hand again and I will circle back to you. Okay, Commissioner Jones.
Thank you. Quick note on that, Commissioner Chauvin, there in Microsoft Word has a compare version feature that is extremely helpful, and I'd be happy to help you with that separately. I can have some time tomorrow even to help you show easily how to compare two different versions of a document and track the changes between the two of them. But yeah, I understand. I've reviewed the proposed settlement agreement. I think it is appropriate in dealing with the concerns that this particular establishment might contribute to long-standing problems in the area. It's not clear to me what further changes could be demanded compared to the settlement agreement that would further mitigate the concerns. Like I said, the concerns related in this area are legitimate. Almost none of them have to do with this particular establishment. I'm extremely grateful that the applicant is trying to fully legalize their business in comparison to other gifting shops that are not seeking to fully regularize and legalize their business. And I'm inclined to want to reward that behavior of seeking legalization and regulation and not punish that behavior because other people are not engaging with it. So there's that. I will say also I will support a motion to protest simply because the settlement agreement is not yet signed. Without a settlement agreement, I am not convinced that the issues at hand will be mitigated. And I'm confident that the chair of the the ABRA committee, Commissioner Fields, will be able to finalize a settlement agreement that mitigates the concerns with the establishment.
Trindade Duramo, as much as I love this music, we're gonna have to fix that for the next meeting.
I
I
think
have no control. There's no
I know,
option.
no, I
Just
know. We'll
what
figure
they've
it
given us.
out. We'll figure it out. I mean, it's a good wrap up side.
I think it's great. I love it.
Keeps the people happy.
I don't
Commissioner,
even hear it. I just hear
Commissioner
beep.
Henderson, you're missing out. Commissioner Sycamore, Commissioner
If I can
Henderson.
add in, I like the music too.
I want to make sure I get one more comment in before we vote, but I also wasn't sure, Chair, if I can wait till after community comments if we want to hear from the person who has their hand raised. I defer to you on I can go now or later.
It's up to you. You can go now. I'm sure might even had more in discussion, but it's up to you.
Okay, I'll wait until we hear from everyone.
Okay, I'm gonna go and then Commissioner Chauvin, you can I'll circle back with you. Keep in mind you will have still more time to go. I think I really want to make sure that, especially on these matters, because it is Commissioner Chauvin's SMD is filled with a lot of establishments, different types of establishments. I do want to defer to his judgment, and I think it's as much as Commissioner Fields, I do value you moving ahead on a settlement agreement. I think it's incredibly critical and vital for the SMD commissioner to be present. And I'm sure you've given opportunity, Commissioner Chauvin. I hope you have taken those opportunities or you will in the future. But he should be the lead on this. This is his SMD. He knows the area very well. I'm not minimizing what others know about the area, but this is his SMD and he is the elected official there. So I will be deferring to him. I think the community concerns maybe potentially around noise, trash, and other things, maybe parking are valid. It's not just noise from the establishment. I get it, they don't have like entertainment, but it could be patrons coming in and out. I think that is an important provision. It's the potential smells that also come out of it. So I think those need to be addressed. But I am very confident that a settlement agreement could be reached very quickly. So tonight I will be voting in favor of a protest to ensure that the community has their voices heard. Okay, so Commissioner Chauvin, it looks like two other hands came up, but I will go to you. And then we will circle back to Commissioner Kinsick and then to you, Commissioner Fields.
Are we not doing 2 comments per commissioner with the time in place per topic, or we're going to bypass that tonight?
No, that
I lost track, so we will instill that right now. But I think this is a matter that is, we're gonna go for it. So just say what you need to say and then we will move on.
I'd actually like to defer till after the guest participants, and then I will resume my question at that point because they haven't been heard.
Is it a question or a comment?
It will be comments. Comments for me after we return from the guests for their comments.
Okay, and then I'm gonna reinstate the 2-minute time, and you have one more comment, Commissioner Chauvin, on this. And we will need to raise a motion and get moving. Okay, Commissioner Kinsick.
just want to echo what Commissioner Fields is saying. I mean, it's like we can't choose and pick when we're doing this 2-topic. We say all these rules for 10 minutes in the beginning and we're still going on. So thanks, Commissioner Fields, for bringing that up. And yes, let's start following that. Thank you.
I hear you. And it is also up to my discretion. So I'm allowing, it's either I'm damned if I do or damned if I don't. So I'm allowing comments here, and then y'all want to come back to the comment rule. So let's also be mindful of that. Commissioner Fields.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just start with saying that I think that's the perfect example of, just sort of, a continued practice of allowing Commissioner Chauvin and other commissioners to bypass the rules of this commission and the committees, which is unfortunate, but it's something that we're going to continue doing. So I understand, and I'm, completely complicit in the practice and hope that it's applied to other commissioners. Just in regards to this specific establishment owner, he's been in the area for over 29 years. And one of the recommendations from Commissioner Chauvin was to protest on the grounds of peace, order, quiet, and also trash. So at this time, I'd love to just bring up 2 images of the establishment from over the course of the past 2 years, which showcase the front of the establishment, proving that there is no trash around the establishment. So that would be, an outlandish, I think, request to protest on the grounds of peace, order, and trash. As you can see, this first image, there's nothing there at all. And then we'll go to the second image zoomed out from 2 years ago, nothing there at all. Again, we're talking about an entity that's here on the call tonight that's made an agreement to join in good faith with us, a settlement agreement, which is something that I think that we should honor and something that I think is, really important for us to do. In Commissioner Chauvin's email earlier today, he mentioned that you cannot send to ABCA that we're going to protest simply for the means of getting the establishment to sign on to a settlement agreement. Yet still in full, we're going to do that again tonight, bypassing rules and practices from other agencies in the area, which is unfortunate again. And just lastly, Director Musali came on our call in February before this establishment was placarded at the request of Commissioner Chauvin and highlighted that this entity would be applying for a medical cannabis retailer license, giving him and other community members who are about to speak on this call tonight time to plan and practice and, prepare their remarks to speak against this establishment. I think it's extremely racist. I think it is a practice that is going against a minority business in the area, which seems to be the practice of this commission for many years to come. And it's unfortunate that this is something we're going to continue to uphold. Right.
Okay, I think that's some pretty unfair comments, but we will continue to move forward. Okay, Cedric, can you go ahead and take the first person off of mute? And Commissioner Trindade Jeromo, can you go ahead and set the timer? And again, commissioners, I'm damned if I do or damned if I don't. I have extended comments. Commissioner Fields, I gave you plenty of time last meeting. We can go through the record.
you extended my time partially, but I've not continued to break this rule. So, I mean, we're not going to go and
Right,
say,
this is a good piece of feedback, and we will institute it now.
okay.
Mr. Padro, you can take yourself off of mute. You can go ahead. Commissioner Trindade Duramo, please start the timer.
Thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to address you this evening. For generations, 7th and T has been known as one of the city's preeminent open-air drug marketplaces. In the decade between 2010 and 2020, much of that activity diminished significantly because of much of the development and other changes that were taking place in the neighborhood. Post-COVID, however, the 7th and T area, the 600 block of T Street and the 1900 block of 7th Street have resumed this historic role as being where people come in DC to buy illegal drugs. There's a task force that has been established with a number of different district government agencies that meets on a monthly basis trying to address these issues. There is a program currently funded by the district government through HIPS to try to provide additional resources to the drug addicted population that is present in the area. We had a meeting this afternoon. We asked whether or not anybody the 20 odd people from district agencies thought it would be a good idea to add a licensed cannabis retailer to the mess that we have at 7th and T currently. No one raised their hand. This, to license this establishment would be like adding a match to the gasoline that's already in the area. This is a hotspot. This is the biggest public safety issue that Charlemagne Street has in its entire jurisdiction. And because there is no alternative to try to seek redress except through the ANC, our organization, for the first time in 21 years, has found it necessary to recommend that an ANC protest.
Time is up. Thank you. Cedric, go ahead and promote the next person.
Yes, good afternoon. I wrote all of the commissioners this morning a rather detailed letter, and I won't recapitulate all of that, except that through the T Street Task Force, we have not seen the city capable of implementing any of the rules and regulations, laws of the district. So I don't think that we should have any confidence going forward that the district will do any better enforcing a consent decree or whatever. I know the establishment very well on the corner. I was actually out there protesting when they were asked to lower the music or stop the music on the corner. I was actually one of the people out in the large public demonstration supporting the business. However, I have not seen Mr. Campbell or seen his participation in the T Street Task Force. And this is obviously something that directly impacts his business, his current businesses, and will impact his business in the future if the license is granted. I definitely think that he needs to be much more involved. I'll pretty much close my comments, and they're in addition to the letters that I sent out this morning. But this community is suffering, and to absorb more drug sales or alcohol sales, I think needs to be protested and needs to be quashed. This is not an area that is at the moment capable of absorbing more drug sales or more alcohol sales. Thank you very much.
It's another reminder, marijuana has been decriminalized in DC, so and the ANC does not approve or disapprove licenses. So that is up to the ABCA board. If you have issues with saturation and things of different establishments, that is up to the ABCA board. We do not determine someone's license. We simply try to engage with the establishment, which is what we're doing tonight, and to work with them on any community issues that they have. Are there any other community comments or questions? I'm not seeing any. The ANC will need to approve a settlement agreement if that is in front of us. We also need to potentially either vote on a protest. Again, I understand that is a very loaded term. That does not mean we want the establishment shut down. That does not mean we are against the establishment running. I understand that Commissioner Fields, you were under the impression that we cannot say this is for a settlement agreement. That is ill-advised. We can say that. But I would advise whoever makes the motion to make the motion on grounds of the actual community concerns. So Commissioner Chauvin, I'm gonna wait on you. Someone needs to raise a motion. Commissioner Jones, I saw your hand and your little hand first.
Thank you. I move that ANC 1B approve the draft settlement agreement for Crank Corner.
Second.
Discussion.
This is yeah.
Wait. I'm sorry. Who? Commissioner Chauvin, you've had your hand up. Are you going?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Hold on. Because we are all now paying attention to these rules. Commissioner Trindade Duramo, can you please set the timer?
Sorry, point of order quickly. I'm being asked to vote on an agreement that I haven't seen.
Your point of order is out of order. Is this a point of information? I'm assuming this is point of information.
I don't think point of information exists under Robert's rules, but sure, whatever you
Yes,
want it to be.
there is point of information that exists under Robert's rules.
Go for it.
Okay, what's your point of information?
I'm confused that I'm being asked to vote on a settlement agreement that I haven't seen.
I
It was sent to all commissioners on Monday at 12:25. Yeah.
Commissioner Fields, are you able to put it up on the screen, perhaps?
Yes, 1 second.
Can we have discussion on it since there seems to be folks who have not read it?
I am getting Commissioner Fields. She's putting it on the screen, and then we will discuss.
If I might add as well too, speaking with Donald, he did want to clarify, I think, point 4 and point 11, which I'm sure we'll get to if we're going over this. I don't know if he needs to maybe come back up to speak, or how would you like to do this?
Nope. What are the points that need to be clarified?
So as we mentioned before, Donald has faced discrimination under the don't mute, well, when people were being told to turn down their go-go music outside of establishments. So under number 4, where it says takes reasonable steps to ensure there are no sounds or music, he wanted to make sure he can continue to play the go-go music at the level that is being played at currently. If anyone wants to weigh in on that now.
As far as I understand, these are 2 separate businesses.
They are, but because they're run by him together, I'm sure that was a concern for him.
As I stated, as far as I'm aware, these are 2 separate businesses, and they are 2 separate businesses under ABCA's jurisdiction.
The other one's not under ABCA, but do we want to add a point here to ensure that the ABCA is aware that that's a separate business and is not?
They are aware. They have different addresses, don't they?
No, they're at the same address.
They have different business names, don't they?
They are. I'm not sure if they're under D&G.
So ABCA will have jurisdiction over the license that is requested by this business. So they will look at the license holder of that business.
Right. I believe it might be under D&G Enterprises, which is what this establishment will be under as well. That's why I'm asking, does Mr. Campbell need to come forward to clarify that for us?
He was the one asking if the ABCA is, that is something I think you should ask ABCA, but as far as we are aware and what the settlement entails, it is for this establishment that is requesting a medical care cannabis. I will also say you need clarification up at the top of the trade name. I think, yes, this is under D&G Enterprises. As long as you have the trade name of Crank Corner, then that is what ABCA will look at.
Okay. Saw some people raise their hand. Do you want to?
I will recognize them, thank you, but I am letting you know that it's two separate businesses. What is the next provision that he?
Right. The next provision is number 11, cooperation in stemming legal activity in the vicinity of the premises. I believe we went over this earlier in the call. Again, the establishment owner would need to speak to his concerns on this specifically. I'm not sure how to vocalize what his thoughts are, so.
Was this something that was added by you, Commissioner Fields?
No, this is the typical standard settlement agreement that we've agreed to for medical cannabis retailers in the past.
We've only agreed to one.
Right, which would be Firehouse, correct.
Yes, so that wasn't my question. So this was in Firehouse's settlement agreement.
Correct.
Okay. Did ABCA strike that?
Did they strike the settlement agreement?
Nope.
No.
Did they strike this provision?
No, not for Firehouse, but for this, they're establishing a settlement agreement with us. So it will be up between us as two parties, not ABCA.
No, the settlement agreement is voted on by the ABCA board. This is standard practice. The settlement, so we sign it, but then the ABCA board approves it or not. They have stricken certain provisions of our previous settlement agreements. So I'm asking you, and maybe Commissioner Chauvin knows this, because it would
They
like to go
did
to.
not strike it in the past, but what I'm saying is the party
They
that we're
strike it with Firehouse. That's
They
what I'm
did
asking.
not strike it with Firehouse, but what I'm saying is the party that we're entering in this agreement with, I'm not sure if he wants to strike it or add any clarification, but he does have that option because we're both two parties signing it. So
He has that option, but if that's something we want in the agreement,
then it might not.
this is also where mediation for a protest process happens. So commissioners, we can also amend this motion to defer to the Commissioner of Jurisdiction and Commissioner Fields to negotiate this, potentially through a protest process, to figure this out further. But can you go ahead, maybe take this off the screen for a second so then I can see who else has raised their hand in the order, and then if they need to bring it back up, would you be able to bring it back up? Okay. Okay, Commissioner Trindade Drama, can you start the timer? Commissioner Chauvin.
Yes, I am, as you've recognized, Chair Harris, I appreciate you following the protocol and the etiquette regarding SMD voice and oversight on all settlement agreements that have happened in the course of my 5 years associated with this commission. And I thank you for recognizing its importance and its primary importance here. I have concerns, and you've seen the several letters of objection to the license. I don't find this commission to have the will to deny a license here, even though it's a tool. It's a tool, and we know how difficult it is because it would be hiring an attorney. So I don't think that's on the table. But
Commissioner Chauvin, I'm sorry, and you can have this 2 seconds back. We do not deny licenses.
No,
Do not deny.
Let me correct my language. I hear you. Let me correct my language, please. So what I meant to say is to not approve the a motion to protest. Okay, and that never ends in denying a license, according to this history of this ANC and most ANCs throughout the district, because it's a high standard and difficult process, usually incurring attorney costs to do that in front of ABCA. And even when we do that, they often just dismiss community concerns. It's a problem. But not off the table tonight. I am just asking that a simple measure to protest this license, not the one in front of us, and not approve the motion. I do not want, because I don't think it's been fully considered, this settlement agreement to be motion for approval. I deserve the respect for additional review and ask for that from this commission. And I think that's simple. I appreciate your consideration on this.
Do you have an amendment to the motion?
Yes, I ask for dismissal
Nope,
of the
I need you can amend the motion. You need to say I move, and you just need to say I move.
Well, as this is my third meeting, let's see, actually my fourth meeting. I move to amend the motion then to incorporate a protest so that this settlement agreement can be further considered.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
Point of information for me.
Sure.
So again, we didn't bring Mr. Campbell up, but I'm sure from our discussions earlier that he was fine with keeping clause 11. I'm not sure clause 4 and clause 11, but again, this is the standard agreement that we use with Firehouse. It's the same agreement that was sent on Monday. And so if we move forward with this agreement, I'm confused as to what Commissioner Chauvin is saying he'd like for more time to review, since it's identical and it's been identical for the past 3 to 4 months.
Commissioner Chauvin, do you want to answer that?
Yes, I will just say that I was not involved with the prior protest and the prior execution of the settlement agreement. It was precedes my tenure here on the commission. But I think to fully alleviate concerns that were deep and continue to be deep by the residential neighborhood surrounding, and by several professionals that have been involved with this corridor for several decades, one on this call this evening, and who has made some statements, that we review the hours of operation, because I do not believe that the hours of operation at Firehouse were every day of the week, but specifically because that's why we're here to review concerns, that we consider lesser hours and one day off a week, a blue law per se on Sunday, for not allowing what is difficult situation to be exacerbated on Sundays, and 12 to 6 p.m. Hours of operation. I don't find that to be unreasonable in light of all of the evidence and discussion that have concerns.
Point of information, sorry again, but Commissioner Chauvin, you've been a part of the ABCA committee for the past 3 to 4 months, so you were thoroughly involved in the Firehouse negotiations and settlements. You were involved in their settlement agreement, and they also do operate daily. They don't have Sunday off, and so they operate also earlier than the Crank Corner, starting at 9 a.m. So that also seems a bit off in regards to further review, but I'll rest there.
Okay. I will also say that's a fair point. Thank you for bringing that up. Commissioner Chauvin, I know you're new as an ANC. However, you have been heavily involved in the commission. So I get some of the vocabulary. I understand that totally, but you are not new to this. You're not new to the area. Okay. The other thing is you can't just say point of information and then start talking. Like, let me recognize, then we'll move forward, especially if it's a comment to something. Okay. Commissioner Kensick.
Thank you. This is really hard because I do feel, this individual, he's getting some backlash because of the area, and I'm coming in like heavy-hearted with this, and I say that I only use that word when I talked about 16, 17. Commissioner Padro I've known for a long time, and I do understand what him and Commissioner Chauvin are saying. I just don't want this, this individual. It's, to me, almost feels like this could be taken as racist. Like this particular owner who's been in business for 29 years, those pictures I've seen that, and I have walked by there, and what Commissioner Fields put up, didn't really look dirty to me. I think that people that have cannabis sativa cards, they're registered. I don't know if that'll necessarily make the area that much different or unsafe. So I'm just trying to like think this out. I want to hear what the other commissioners say, and definitely Commissioner Fields again. I just feel bad that the owner is kind of being pocketed in this, because of the area, and it's just something we should all think about. That's it. I'm sorry. Thank you.
No need to be sorry. Thank you. Just as a reminder, commissioners, this is discussion for the amendment that Commissioner Chauvin has brought up. So keep that in mind. This is not for the settlement agreement. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you. As Chair Harris just mentioned, the amendment in question would change the main motion from just considering the settlement agreement by itself to combining a motion on the settlement agreement and a motion to protest. I would like us to vote on those two items separately. I would like
on them separately. You can vote on both. We can still say protest, and then we can still approve the settlement agreement. Wait, you know what? I take that back. Please erase everything I just said. I understand what you're saying. We do need to vote on it separately.
So what the motion on the floor would have us vote on both of those things at the same time. I do not want us to do that. I would like, and here is why.
We can't, we also can't do that. We can't, because why would we protest if we would be approving the settlement agreement? So if we approve the settlement agreement, then it would automatically withdraw our protest. So even though that motion is on the table, there's no philosophical reason. We can't, like, that actually, like, we can still vote on the motion, but we have to do it separately. So that is a very good point. Thank you for raising that, Commissioner Jones, but there's no, they cancel each other out. That's what happens.
Point of information.
Madam Chair, I'm not done with my time yet. May I continue speaking?
Yeah.
Thank you. The reason that I would like them separate is because I do think we need to vote on both. It is, even if we pass a settlement agreement that we think is good, it is not automatic that the applicant will agree to that. So what I would propose is that we work on the best settlement agreement we can get. And I will have some amendments to the draft settlement agreement, for example, making sure that the noise mitigation applies only to the cannabis business and not to any nearby unrelated businesses, excuse me. But let's get the settlement agreement. Let's have it so that Commissioner Fields or whoever we designate can work out the details with the applicant. Then let's also authorize Commissioner Fields or whoever else we designate to protest, so that if the applicant is not able to meet the concerns of this commission, that we still have the ability to protest. So that my preference is that we vote down the motion to amend, that we return to the discussion of the settlement agreement, that we vote on the settlement agreement, and then that we vote separately on whether to protest. To that end, I would like us to just move immediately into voting procedures on the amendment so we can return back to the main question. Thank you.
No, here's what we're going to do. So I think I would recommend that we vote down the motion, the amendment. This is not a reflection of the substance of the amendment. First, we need one motion. This is just a recommendation. This is up to whoever makes the motion. I cannot make the motion. To make a motion to vote to protest this license with the immediate withdrawal once a settlement agreement is reached. We should not vote for the settlement agreement at hand, because if we vote on the settlement agreement, we are approving what is already on the settlement agreement, when clearly more discussion needs to have. We have a commissioner who sits for 1BO2. And we can designate and suggest and advise that Commissioner Fields helps on the negotiations. But I would strongly recommend that we do not do this for every license. Commissioners are elected to their SMD. They represent their SMD. If we don't have a vacancy, they can speak on their SMD, especially if their establishment is in there. Okay, and I get that we have differing opinions and other intercommunication matters to resolve, but that is what we have done prior to this. We have never voted unless there has been a vacancy to have someone be a lead negotiator. Okay, so I will accept, though, we will move to vote on this amendment. And we'll move to vote on the other further motion. And then potentially make a brand new motion, okay? Everybody put your hands down. Okay. This is for the amendment. All those in favor?
Can we repeat the amendment?
The amendment was to vote to protest. Crank corner.
On the grounds of peace, order, quiet, and all applicable grounds.
Okay. As a reminder, as Commissioner Jones has stated, and I stated, they cancel each other out. This is amendment to the settlement agreement, okay? All those in favor? That in one? Commissioner Chauvin? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion does not pass. Okay. So no amendment. Okay. All those in favor of a settlement agreement?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion before we vote on that.
We already have a motion on the table.
I'm moving to amend.
Okay. What's your amendment?
Commissioner Fields, will you please show the settlement agreement again? It's relevant for people to understand the amendment.
I'm sorry. No. Hold on. Commissioner Fields, wait a second. Is this to the settlement agreement? Is this an amendment to the settlement agreement or to this is a specific amendment to the settlement agreement?
That is what I am proposing, yes.
Okay. Just so you know, if we vote to approve this settlement agreement, that means no protest is happening. This is just approving what is on there. What I previously suggested, and we'll still go through your motion because you already have it on the table, is that we vote down this motion. This doesn't mean we're voting down the substance of the settlement agreement, okay? Clarifying. We make a new motion that says we are voting to protest this establishment. However, if a settlement agreement is reached, the protest will be withdrawn. If you vote to approve the settlement agreement with whatever amendments, we are just voting to approve the settlement agreement today. Which goes against really what you were saying, Commissioner Jones, about being in favor of potentially a protest to make sure the community's comments are heard.
Point of order. We
Your
can't
point of
approve
order is out of order. Okay. There was a second discussion. Commissioner Fields, will you please put on the screen what is the amendment?
Thank you. And Madam Chair, point of order, the amendment the motion hasn't been seconded yet because I haven't made it.
Second, and your point of order is out of order. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, may I introduce the motion?
Go ahead and then reintroduce the motion, and then I will call for a second. Commissioner Fields, I'm so sorry. Can you please take this off the screen? I need to be able to see who makes.
I move to amend the draft settlement agreement as such. On clause 4 regarding noise, to add to the end of the clause the following sentence. This provision applies only to the business seeking a medical cannabis retailer license and does not necessarily apply to any adjacent or nearby businesses regardless of those businesses' ownership. I will put that motion, that proposed amendment in the chat.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion. Again, Commissioner Jones.
I have a
Didn't
motion.
Commissioner Trindade Duramo.
Doesn't it make sense for us to table the settlement agreement altogether rather than
Yes.
working on a piecemeal like this?
Is that
Okay.
a, is that a
Table the settlement
motion? Is that a motion or is
I
this?
withdraw my motion.
agreement. Thank you.
No.
Are we
Okay.
still having discussion? I'm sorry, because
Is there a second? I apologize. Is there a second to withdraw?
Does-
I don't think there needs to be a second.
I don't
No,
think there
you-
needs to
your
be.
motion. Okay, okay. No, there is no discussion. Apologies. Okay, is there a new motion? Commissioner Trindade
I'm
Duramo.
assuming you're referring to mine?
Yes.
Yes, I move to table the settlement agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Okay, the hands that are raised before, is that still hands raised? Okay, Commissioner Fields.
yes, so my question would be to table the settlement agreement until when? And then also, I know that Chair was saying that we should do negotiation or mediation with both Commissioner Chauvin and myself, but we know that hasn't happened in the past or been upheld. So I'm confused on how that would work the second time around without a form of accountability, as in the last time.
Commissioner Fields, mediation is held by ABCA, not by the ANC. So that is something that you and Commissioner Chauvin would need to attend.
Right, but prior negotiations to APCA.
That is up to y'all. We will figure this out. Y'all seem to have some issues that hopefully we can engage with Director Bays to see if we can mediate some communication issues that are occurring. We can't force either of your hands. So it is up to y'all to work together to kind of figure this out.
Okay, that question was in regards to a motion that would have added me to those negotiations, but I get what you're saying.
We haven't even raised the motion yet, so that is still a potential.
Right, proposed, yeah.
Yeah, so that hasn't even been on the table. Okay. This is a motion to table the settlement agreement, right? All those in favor?
Until when? I'm sorry, could my question be answered about until when we would try to finalize the settlement
If it's on the
agreement?
table, the commission can take it off the table whenever.
I'm sorry.
Taking it off the table, it doesn't mean we're not going to discuss it. It's for this meeting. It's to take it off the table right now, so then we can try to move forward with a motion that's more encompassing of what we need to cover.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, so that is tabled. Is there any motions?
I'd like to motion,
Go ahead.
motion that a protest on the grounds of peace, order, quiet, and all applicable grounds be approved and dropped when there's a signed settlement agreement
Who is this for?
for the Crank Corner 1915 7th Street Northwest.
We have a second.
Second.
Discussion. We can also accept amendments to this if there needs to be anyone else added to this discussion, but I think I would hope that commissioners would involve other commissioners, especially committee chairs, on matters in good faith. But if there's no other motion, then there's no other motion to amend. Go ahead, Commissioner Sycamore. Commissioner Trindade Duramo, can you set the timer, please?
Yeah, so thank you so much. This is a really passionate argument. I'm in full support of protesting until the settlement agreement is reached. I've gotten a lot of emails from certainly a lot of Commissioner Chauvin's constituents and the constituents around here, and most immediately to my west of here as well, for my own constituents. So I think this is a good opportunity for us and the community to get involved and really come up with something so we can go through this much easier next time. I think a lot of what's going on here is sometimes a little sad to see, but here we are, and I think this is a good compromise. Thank you.
Commissioner Fields.
Right. So just want to clarify, Commissioner Chauvin, I think your motion was to protest until a settlement agreement is signed. Is that correct? Not reached, but signed?
Yes.
Yes. So since they're already in receipt of the typical standard agreement, if they signed that and sent that back by Friday or Monday or whenever, is that what we're looking to use to say that we'll drop the protest? Or are you trying to have more negotiations, just so we clarify for the record?
I am looking for some time to review, a couple days, to make sure that the interests of my constituents and folks outside the district that live adjacent to this, outside of my SMD and several of your SMDs, including an SMD in a unit in Ward 2 adjacent, that's 2G, that provisions be reviewed fully. And so therefore, yeah, I'm mostly intact with this one. I'm mostly on board. I just want to review, compare the two documents from the original one that we approved, the past template, and review the hours. Those are my major concerns.
So there could be some additions or changes if that's what you were hoping for.
Possibly, and possibly not. I just am asking for the gratitude of time.
Okay.
Commissioner Hanrahan.
I want to just to kind of reflect on one piece and then say a comment and be well under my time, I hope. But type her up to hold me accountable. Something that I just think is worth kind of reflecting on as we think about what happens next. Chair Harris mentioned that normally we are not talking about a protest being around shutting down a business, and that's true. In this case, though, from the emails that I've gotten and from what I think I understand some of the community comments tonight, this is kind of the rare exception to that, where there are people in the community who don't want this establishment to stay open, or it is open. It's been open for a long time, but they don't want it to stay open. So I think I just want to acknowledge that this is a little bit different than normal, and I think we do need to adapt our processes to reflect those legitimate community concerns. I don't think the establishment should close down or not be allowed to operate. I think that actually having the business hours and the kind of legitimate interest happening in that neighborhood is one of the best things that we can do. I'm so close to saying we wouldn't need a settlement agreement except for the location and the broader context. I think we're doing ourselves a disservice if we don't have teeth. And I think our normal process where, this gets worked out before the meeting would be a much better service to the business, to us as a commission, to the poor folks that have had to listen to the past hour plus of process and kind of people dug in their corners when all this could have been done offline and we could just be voting on a settlement agreement, that was worked. It's not always that easy. I've been in really tough negotiations, but I do think we kind of failed here to do what we do almost every time with situations like this. And I don't think that's any one person's fault. I think there's a lot of complicated factors with this particular establishment. So I will be voting in favor of the protest. I think that's standard procedure here and would have voted, an hour ago to do that. And I just hope that we can kind of maybe learn from this, and I'm happy to help in any way that I can. I think everyone has the right intentions, including the establishment.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Handerhan. I think that's a really good point. I think most of this should have been handled in ABR, and I think we do often look to the SMD commissioner to voice that, and it seems like there are potentially other issues at hand. But I will say I think why this has been so in-depth is because this is a new type of license, and the ANC is the only party that is recognized for protest. And I will also kind of just push back on the teeth comment. The settlement agreement is not to hurt the business. The protest is not to hurt the business. I think you and myself and other commissioners who have been a part of the commission through multiple renewal cycles have seen the benefits of a settlement agreement, that a lot of times that these things that the community brings up can be worked out kind of through this very loaded term through the protest process. So I don't think any of us are trying to get the business shut down. We as the commission cannot shut down a business. But this is one of the avenues that helps increase community engagement. So, okay. Are there any other comments? Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Trindade Duramo, please start the timer.
Thanks. I will be voting in favor of protesting so that Commissioner Fields or whoever else is designated will have the ability to make sure that a settlement agreement is signed. I'm grateful for the work that Commissioner Fields has already done in getting pretty close to a fully acceptable settlement agreement. And I look forward to seeing what the final settlement agreement is, which will probably include minor changes to provisions in clauses 4 and 11, as Commissioner Fields outlined. So like I said, I'm hopeful that this establishment, the owner of which has appeared before us this evening, will continue to work in good faith and that we will be able to drop the protest. And I'm grateful for the committee continuing to work with the applicant until that time. Thanks.
Okay, hold on. Sorry, we need, apologies, I have family here, so which is probably what you're hearing in the background. We need to, I'm pulling up the placard. I just want to make sure I'm confirming these dates. Okay, never mind. I was thinking that we would need to make an amendment to the motion, but based on, and it would just help with the timing to ensure that we, if we needed to, we could also vote on it as a commission. We don't need to do that unless Commissioner Trindade Duramo, I don't think I'm making sense, but Commissioner Trindade Duramo, go ahead. And I'll maybe clarify what I was saying.
Okay, point of information also, just so I understand what where we would be authorizing a protest. Per the SOPs, that means that the Commissioner of Jurisdiction will take lead on negotiating the agreement, correct? Unless otherwise specified. And then please just clarify for me, based on our past practice, typically who signs the agreement?
So thank you for clarifying that and asking that question in a way that I can develop cohesive thoughts. Okay. So I was worried that we wouldn't have time as a commission to then vote on that full settlement agreement. We do have time based on the placard, based on what I'm seeing. So what would happen is that the commission, so Commissioner Chauvin, and hopefully he engages with Commissioner Fields to negotiate on the settlement agreement, whatever other provisions that need to take place, discuss the community concerns during the protest process. That settlement agreement would then come back in front of the ANC for us to vote on, and then I would need to sign, and then Commissioner Chauvin would need to sign. And I was worried, the reason why I was blabbing and rambling, because I was worried about the placard process. However, we do have time. The full protest hearing isn't until August 23rd. And just as a reminder, this does not limit the business's operations. So Okay. Are there any other discussion points? Okay.
Put just a correction. The full protest hearing is October or September, not. Do you have the reissue of the license? Because there was two.
I do. I have it right in front of me, and it says the full protest hearing is October 23rd. This
Yes,
was sent
October.
to me. I said, did I say that? Did I say
I
September?
thought you said August, so excuse me. Yep,
Okay.
it's October.
I think I said October, but it's clarification, October. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes with 7, hold on. 8 yeas, 1 nay, 0 abstentions. Thank you. Commissioner Fields, anything further from ABR?
Yep, so our next meeting is going to be held on August 21st. So if you guys are interested in conversations like this about more licensing in the neighborhood, learning more about cannabis retailers and alcohol licenses, definitely please attend. And, I'm definitely willing to have more conversations offline. So stay tuned to the website and my emails for more updates.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones, Economic Development.
Thank you. The Economic Development Committee met on July 18th. We took no votes, made no motions, so I'm not going to be asking the ANC to make any motions at this time as well. We talked about 4 or 5 things. We talked about the 2025 rewrite of the comprehensive plan. As a reminder, the comprehensive plan, or comp plan, guides the city on locating housing, jobs, where to invest in transportation, utilities, parks, and is basically the main land use plan for the District of Columbia. The last full rewrite of the comprehensive plan was in 2006. And there was an update in 2021, which added housing affordability and racial equity aspects. So the new rewrite is going to be pretty extensive. ANC 1B's economic development was possibly the very first, if not among the first, ANC bodies to engage with the Office of Planning on this issue. The Office of Planning is the DC office that leads the comprehensive plan rewrite. The Office of Planning presented their timeline for the comprehensive plan to the Economic Development Committee. That's through the end of 2024. The Office of Planning is engaging in research. Starting in 2025, the Office of Planning will engage with ANCs across the city, that presumably every single ANC, on their priorities for the next, the rewrite of the comprehensive plan. And then from late October 2026 until late 2026, presumably October, through 2027, they're going to be writing the new comprehensive plan. We have no immediate actions for ANC 1B to take, but the Economic Development Committee will continue to visit the comprehensive plan rewriting over the next several months and advise ANC 1B on what factors ANC 1B should consider advising the Office of Planning on. I'm just going to move to the next item unless anyone has anything. All right, the next item is the community and placemaking entity. So as we discussed this briefly earlier, this is what the parking performance plan funding would go to, or any surplus beyond making the parking performance district pay for itself. We are going to engage in further discussions with some community improvement districts, or SIDS, namely we're looking at probably the Mount Vernon Triangle. They have a community improvement district. We're going to be reaching out to them, try to better understand what a SID, a community improvement district, is, as opposed to a business improvement district or BID. And again, the longer term plan here is that ANC 1B is an Economic Development Committee. We'll advise ANC 1B on what we would like to see out of a placemaking entity. That could include its legal form. It could include its governance structure and who gets to serve on the board. It could include what services it prioritizes. It could include other things as well. So if you're interested in further discussions on that, join us at the Economic Development Committee. The Vacant Property Task Force, Commissioner Jeremy Sherman, excuse me, of ANC 1A. Commissioner Chauvin, is that about the
Hold on.
placemaking entity?
Also, I'm sorry, Commissioner Jones, can you clarify, are these updates that were discussed during last economic, or is this future agenda items?
Madam Chair, they're both. We did not make any motions. We did not take any votes.
Okay. Just make sure you clarify what is a future discussion item, and then those can be further discussed at that meeting versus discussed here.
Sure. Commissioner Chauvin had his hand up. I want to.
It was accidental. My cursor was on the talk button.
Itchy trigger finger. All right, we've got that. Vacant Property Task Force is there's a multi-ANC task force that Commissioner Jeremy Sherman of ANC 1A has convened. We had some updates from that. But if you are interested in legislation and the implementation of that legislation dealing with vacant and blighted properties, once again, that will be on the agenda in the future in ANC 1B's Economic Development Committee. So join us on that. No motions related to that. And finally, we've got, there was discussion regarding the site at 625 T Street Northwest. So that's right nearby what we talked about earlier. This is previously ANC 1B had endorsed two ideas of what we might want to see at that site. One was an electric vehicle parking lot and charging station, and another was a dog park. The update on that is that the business or legal entity looking to put the electric vehicle parking lot and charging station is no longer did not pursue funding for that ultimately. So that idea seems to be off the table for the immediate future. There's some other, and in the meantime, the Department of Parks and Rec is still in discussion on the dog park proposal, and we don't have any updates on that. The committee understands that the legal occupancy on that regarding that site is not clear. DEMPED owns the site. There's no existing lease, and it's not clear who's responsible for activating that site. The committee heard from Shaw Main Streets and City Walk markets on a proposed use there as a combination art and food market on the weekends with some programming during the week. There's going to be continued discussion on this, not only on that particular idea for the site, but also more fundamentally trying to get at try to get proactively at what ANC 1B wants to see at that site. So far, we've been mostly reactive. Someone comes with us with a dog park idea. Someone comes with us with an electric charging station idea. Someone comes with us with a food market idea. We're looking to be proactive. And so we're gonna, at future meetings, ANC 1B's Economic Development Committee will recommend basically a list of priorities that we will ask ANC 1B to consider, and just say that basically as our standing desires for this site are, and then a list of those desires. Then that's about it. And no motions were made, no votes were taken. The next meeting of ANC 1B's Economic Development Committee will be Thursday, August 15th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. Public safety and community engagement. Commissioner Fields.
Comment.
Is it a comment or a question?
It's a comment.
You have 1 minute.
Yes, the deputy mayor for planning and economic development has a real estate team that works for her. There is a gentleman who has had large undertaking with the wharf and some of Union Station who has been assigned to our area. So we're very happy to have the ear of the economic development deputy mayor and the real estate team. The real estate team has an endeavor to ensure that this space is activated at 625 T Street, but with the imperative measure that economic sustenance of a business that's very important to the 600 block of T Street is induced to stay, because it's very hard to operate here. And if we lose this large business, there's going to be a lot of problems. So the intent of the deputy mayor is to activate the space in very short measure, hopefully with a market that promotes foot traffic to this business. And that's sort of what I heard last just this week from the Deputy Mayor's Office, Department of Real Estate. Just wanted to give a little update there.
Thank you. I think that's also something you should probably give an update on at economic development as well. Maybe there's also Commissioner Jones, you can invite this person to discuss any of that at the next meeting. Okay.
That's in the cards. Thank you.
Moving on. Public safety and community engagement, Commissioner Fields.
Yep, so we've had some great discussions with John Green, who's a community leader with the U Street Neighborhood Association. And so we're looking to do an event with them that is sort of a crime prevention summit. So if there's anyone interested in that, please feel free to reach out to us. If there's any resources you can provide, we would love to, talk with you. In addition to that, 3D, the 3rd District for the Metropolitan Police Department, did just release their newsletter, which comes out once a month. So if you guys are interested in that, please let me know and we can get you added so that Commander James can keep you updated with stats on what's going on in our area specifically. So specifically for the month of July, there were 2 homicides. There was 1 sex abuse case, 9 assault with dangerous weapons, 46 robberies, 25 burglaries, 52 motor vehicle thefts, and 109 theft from autos. So we do know that those sound pretty frightening, but again, working around community programming can certainly curb those numbers. But MPD is saying that they're reporting a 24% decrease in crime compared to this time last year, and specifically a 41% decrease in assault with dangerous weapons, a 34% decrease in robberies, 23% decrease in burglaries, and 31% decrease in motor vehicle thefts. So there is some hope there, just knowing that we're not at the same place that we were at last year. So just continuing to, be aware of those efforts would be great. One thing that's coming up, which is an event that's taking place nationwide. So if you have any friends and family across the country that are interested in, working and fellowshipping with police officers, it's called National Night Out. So they do this everywhere, including like PG County, Silver Spring, everywhere. But for DC, they'll be hosting the event on August 6th from 4 to 8 p.m. This event will be held at Sycamore and Oak, 1110 Oak Drive in Southeast, for you to get food, music, games with the Metropolitan Police Department. The 3rd District will be hosting an event at the same time, but their event will be at the Kennedy Recreation Center. So again, this is August 6th from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Kennedy Recreation Center. So if you guys are interested in that, please feel free to come and attend. And again, we talk about those monthly faith walks that are happening with different local churches in the area. So please be sure to attend those. And then lastly, the Citizen Advisory Council meeting will be taking place on Thursday, August 29th at 7 p.m. And that'll be another time where you can talk to the commander, ask questions about specific crimes that have happened in this area, their street mark-offs, and sort of what's being done to keep people updated on that. And then lastly, MPD also included something about their rewards program, which is just how much they're sort of offering for people who can bring information on certain crimes. So right now they're saying that they're offering up to $25,000 for people who give information on homicides, $10,000 for people who report on shootings, and the same for robberies, $2,500 for gun seizures, and $250 for people who report illegal ATV operators. Commissioner Chauvin, I know that was a specific concern for you, so if you could amplify that information, I think that would be great. So those are sort of the things that we discussed in our committee. If you guys are interested in crime and public safety in the area, you guys can log on to our call on August 13th at 7 p.m. via Zoom.
Commissioner Fields, you listed a lot of dates there. Is it possible, can you post them in the chat and also share them with, well, we'll figure it out, but just share them with one of the commissioners here, maybe Commissioner Trindade Geramo, so then we can get that information on our website as well. I think Commissioner Fields, I'm not sure if you can just write it up quickly into the chat. I think that's more helpful. I'm not sure the ability for community members to download the screenshot. So if you can just type up the information, then Cedric can post it for everyone to see. Commissioner Chauvin.
Two quick questions. Do you know the numbers for carjackings? And with all the information you gave, you were just talking 3D in the whole. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And
You
for-
also, Commissioner Chauvin, unless you have it on hand, Commissioner Fields, but Commissioner Chauvin, I believe we shared the crime cards with you that are publicly accessible that you can also go into.
Well, sure, but we're spending some time talking about these, so I just had a few questions, and just specifically the carjackings, because they're not available on crime cards. So I was wondering where that information is or couched, if it's
So
somewhere else.
for the for July, there were 52 motor vehicle thefts and then 109 theft from autos. So that's sort of the breakdown for this past month. And then again, they say that's down, motor vehicle thefts are down 31% from last year, and then theft from autos are down 37% from last year. So yeah, those are the stats for the area. Did you have a specific?
Well, yeah, but just to be clear, carjackings are different than theft from an auto and auto theft.
They're
Right.
classified as the same, under the same thing. This is what is accessible. I'm sure we can get the information from MPD directly, but that is what is in the publicly accessible things. And then they are filed, carjacking is filed under one of those two. I don't know what specifically, but it is filed under one of those.
Okay.
Motor
All right.
vehicle thefts, yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Commissioner Sycamore. You're on mute, Commissioner Sycamore.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, this is completely anecdotal, but I encourage everyone who has lived in this area to please start reporting crime. I know at least two people this week who have been mugged and or not carjacked, had break-ins into their car and just decide that they don't want to report it because they don't feel that anybody cares or listens. But those numbers are important statistically. So what the numbers say are not always a true reflection of what's going on. So I encourage everyone who's listening, if you have been a victim of some sort of crime, even if you don't feel like it's going to impact you at all, it will help inform where crime is going on and how best to resource our limited officer resources. So thank you so much, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely just want to echo that. I think that's a great statement. People definitely need to report crime. But also at these meetings, sometimes we have neighbors that come and talk about experiences that they've had. I know one thing that we've talked about has been someone coming up to you saying that they've lost their phone, so that you look down and pull yours out to help them call someone, and then they'll pepper spray you. So they said that they've reported those instances, but they haven't, gotten any of the culprits of those crimes. But these are just great calls for awareness, especially if you live in the area, as showed to make sure that you're not a victim of a crime of opportunity or that you know certain trends that are happening. So please definitely report crime and also share if crime has happened to you with us, because that's something we'll definitely amplify and try to help other people be aware of.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to administrative.
Excuse me, Chair.
Commissioner, go ahead.
Just wanted to say, echo what both Commissioner Sycamore and Commissioner Field said. Every last Thursday of the month at the 3D CDC police station, they're very open forum. It's a great area to talk about a lot of these items. So I just encourage people that haven't gone, which I haven't seen a lot of these commissioners gone. It'd be nice to see you, to start going and being a part of it. Thank you.
Okay, administrative. Commissioner Handerhan, do you want to lead this session? This section?
I'll be quick, but have an important I guess announcement or thing I want to make sure we get to say here. This is our last meeting with Cedric, our ANC 1B administrative consultant, being our fearless behind the scene leader. So Cedric, I'm gonna make you turn your camera on if you are in a place where you can do that. I know you usually have it off to keep the logo up, but if you can show everyone, yeah, there he is. Cedric has been working with ANC 1B since the spring of 2023. And jumped into the role at a time when there had not been a consultant for a while, so had to kind of pick up and just see what was out there and jump in and help any way he can. He is the reason these meetings run smoothly. I've never heard him complain about an ask or a stressful situation in his entire tenure with us. So we're really grateful to have that consistent behind the scenes engagement. We also know that you have a full-time job, you have a family, and so we appreciate the time that you spent with us on ANC 1B. We had advertised a replacement for Cedric, and just want to let the community know that we are talking to candidates about that, and we'll have someone on board by our September meeting, so it will be seamless. Really, tonight is about thanking Cedric for.
Thank you so much, Cedric, for all of your work. I think we all appreciate this, especially running late meetings like this one and prior ones. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, and you have some nice comments in the chat that I'm sure you're seeing. And I'm sure community members also appreciate your work as well. Okay. Executive Council Member, Commissioner and Community Announcements, Office of the Council Member, Nicole.
Hey, folks. Good to see everyone. A few quick updates from us. We are in council recess until September 15th, but that does not mean we are on vacation. We are still working. We are following up on constituent services requests, and we are working on legislation to be ready to go for the end of the year. The fall legislative session is the final one of the 2-year council period. So we're working to pass things and get those hearings done, because anything that doesn't pass dies and has to be reintroduced in the new council period in the new year. So we're going to be very busy in the fall, and we're doing a lot of work to get ready. So feel free to reach out to us if you need anything, because we are in the office. Couple quick things. A lot of interest in the Better Bus Network redesign. Thank you to everyone from the ANC and community who contributed feedback. The council member did send a letter with her own feedback, mostly reiterating everything she heard from the community, including some concerns about removing the 59 express bus on 14th Street, and a call for continuing the new C53 bus into Adams Morgan and Woodley Park. We have the letter up on our website if you're interested in what feedback she provided to WMATA. Big concern lately we've been talking a lot about, also in kind of the traffic safety world, is mopeds. In general, mopeds can be really great, especially for delivery drivers. They're lighter, they're better for the environment, they're better for traffic safety when they're used safely and responsibly. But there are a number that are operating illegally and without being registered. So we're trying to address the registration part with a piece of legislation that we introduced right before the summer recess. If the mopeds aren't registered, we can't easily hold dangerous drivers accountable. The Council Transportation Committee heard of this, did a hearing on the CM's bill to require companies that sell and rent out mopeds to be responsible for the registration and permitting, just like you do when you buy a regular car. So we expect that to go to the full council after recess. And we're also looking at bringing some of this regulation and oversight under the Department of For-Hire Vehicles, which is in our Public Works and Operations Committee. One other item we're really excited about, the Science Advisory Board, which reviews science at the crime lab, is now fully staffed once again. Late last year, the council member pushed really hard on getting the lab's biology and chemistry units reaccredited, which they did, and we're still waiting on the lab to apply for accreditation for fingerprinting, digital evidence, and ballistics. This is having a really big impact on the prosecution of crimes in the district, that a lot of this evidence processing has to be outsourced because it can't be done by our lab. Having a full board that oversees this lab is really important. So we're really glad that the mayor made those nominations and that the council approved them. Our next Brianna on your block is going to be August 21st at 6 p.m. at Perry's at 1811 Columbia Road. Reminder for folks, the way that we do these community office hours, we do them once a month and we move around the ward. And it's an opportunity to meet with the council member one-on-one about whatever you want to speak with her about. It's not like a town hall style. You can come and speak directly with the council member about anything you want to talk to her about, a constituent services issue, a policy idea, anything you want to raise with her. So we hope to see folks there. And I'll stop there. I'll take any questions that folks have.
Commissioner Kinsick.
Yeah, this is just something of clarity, and I've been asked this. Not saying the R word, but the signs that are placed out currently, who pays for those signs? Who's actually?
I can't answer any questions about that. As council staff, I can't engage in any political activity when I'm here.
I apologize. Sorry, Commissioner Kinsick, you cannot. We can't discuss those matters in our ANC meeting. I apologize. I did not hear that question. I'm sorry. We cannot talk about that. That is not appropriate.
Got it. Thank you.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Nicole. Nice to see you again. So I've been doing a lot of door knocking, talking to the community members, and one of the big things they were talking about have definitely been ATVs. So I'm really happy to see that the council member has taken up this issue so seriously. I know myself and a lot of other people in the ward have really had some concerns with this. So please extend my thanks to the council member for that. And number two, I know this is kind of out of the purview of the council, but the circulator bus, that's probably the second thing other than rats, and rats is always my number one complaint that we get. But the circulator in particular came up quite a bit. I was wondering if, I know they're talking about sunsetting it, but is there any talk within the council about possibly bringing this back? If there's any sort of funding for the next budget season, anything of that sort?
Unfortunately, no. The funding to retain the circulator just was not possible in this budget cycle. Something we are talking about is how does this better bus network redesign ensure that routes that were served by the circulator, that there's still access, and routes that are similar. I know WMATA is working through that now, as they receive feedback from the community on the better bus network. So that's something that's still in the works to make sure that some of those routes that were only served by the circulator have still some kind of service. So more to come on that. I'm happy to come back as soon as I have any more information on kind of what WMATA is going to do about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Problem.
Commissioner Sherman.
Yes, good evening, Cole. Thank you for attending this evening. Good to see you. Quick question on the matter of parking performance zone. Thank you and please thanks the council member for her authorship of this performance parking zone. However, equal with the rollout of this program is enforcement. And, I'm not sure, that we have proper enforcement. It seems like I see a few more enforcement officers, but is there anything we can get for reporting within the U Street ANC 1B regarding performance for parking? I mean, the number of parking officers and performance on tickets in this zone and hours, because there's still lots of back and forth about, well, they don't work after 10 p.m. That's a problem in a nightlife zone. And so there's lots of outstanding questions. How can we as a community sort of better understand the resources, commitment, and where we need to go from here?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple things. One, in the U Street area in particular, we do have additional parking enforcement resources as part of the nightlife task force. So we do have some weekend enforcement as part of that. We did additionally fund some additional parking enforcement positions at DPW in this budget. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm happy to dig that up of how many additional positions we were able to fund and send that over to you guys. And then in terms of data on like how many tickets are being issued, how many folks are around, we can ask DPW for that. That's also something anyone can like FOIA from DPW as well. You know, I'm sure you can request that as an ANC commissioner. But maybe we can offline and talk about more specifically like what data you're looking for, and we can work with you on getting that from DPW.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks, everybody.
Office of the Mayor. Anthony,
Hello, everyone.
welcome back.
Thank you. How y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
So I have something from the mayor. As I don't know, as you know, on the 29th Monday, we met our goal that she set back a few years ago, the 36,000, create new homes. So, and it actually started in Ward 1 with the Wren, I believe, on 14th Street. I mean, on Florida Avenue. I believe it's 965 Florida Avenue. So that was a great accomplishment that she set the goals for. And I wanted to point out another thing, that in the city, when we're doing something, everything affects everybody. Meaning that when she contributed, I think we contributed $250 million down to the wharf. It brought back $10 billion, which is like a $4,000 4,000% return, and 10%, I mean 30% of the budget goes towards schools and goes towards public safety, which affects everyone. So I have that, and I also wanted to point out that the mayor's vision for the city, we're doing the clean and safe city. So this weekend I'm supposed to be with Thrive DC. We're cleaning up, I believe, down in the Lower Georgia Avenue, and we want to invite anybody else to come out with us to clean up. And I also want to thank all you agencies for what y'all do. Like, that is one of them jobs that you know what I'm saying, that you are actually taking up the task for the community. So we want to actually just commend all of you for that, and I appreciate that. And on one last note, I didn't want to stick my nose in this, but I actually know Mr. Donald Campbell from visiting the establishment. So, and he does run a strict rule about not just standing out in front of his establishment. I just want to throw that in there. I have nothing to, but I want to throw that in there. But I appreciate y'all for what y'all do. That's it.
Thank you.
Anything?
Commissioner Lakatos, I saw your hand go up but then go down.
Sorry, yeah, my internet cut out and then I came back. It was just a kind of like a brief question. And I
Yes, sir.
appreciate the mayor's goal on that. Is there a plan for the next goal? Like, is that like, we just finished the first goal, but like, I was trying to, I didn't know if you've heard anything, so I'm curious.
Well, no, it's not, so this comeback plan is a lot of different aspects to it. So no, there's more to this, and we want to get up to, I believe, 12,000 affordable homes, housing for residents of the city. So part of this plan is to keep going and to bring everybody along with this vision, and to help everybody not be afraid of change. Because I'm Washingtonian. And I know that a lot of people in communities in Ward 1, I'm originally from Ward 8, but a lot of people are just afraid of this going forward and the change. So it's helped coaching everybody up and bringing everybody along, because we're all in this together. So all of us. So yes, there's a lot more to the comeback plan, and the goal is actually to create more housing so we can help balance out this inflation as far as the rent, the prices. So Yes, sir. That answers your question. There's more. There's more to come. It don't stop.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Thank you again. Thank you, Mr. Roberts, for coming. It's always nice to see the mayor's office back here. This actually pretty much the exact same question I had for the council members representative. As far as the circulator is concerned, what kind of pushback has the mayor gotten? Because I know it serves a lot of people of lower income and a lot of our tourists here in the city, and it was free for people to ride. To kind of complement the mayor's goals of affordable housing, why is she not been fighting harder to keep this pretty vital bus service going, especially as it serves, from wards 8 all the way up through up to upper Northwest? I'm just curious what kind of pushback she's gotten on any of that.
I haven't heard anything about any pushback far as that myself, but I can follow back up with you with that. And actually, I haven't myself heard anything as far as any pushback with that. And this is it all goes back to this also, Matt, when I just said that what we're doing as far as just making sure that the city is growing, not only economically, but growing with the technology and this and so there's some things that we're going to, sometimes you can't get everything. We have, sometimes we got to give up something to get something. And it's very apparent that we're going in the right direction just by, looking at what we're able to accomplish and what we're doing. And I think that's important. So I haven't heard anything, but I will check for you and get back with you.
Commissioner Jones.
Thanks. Yeah, Mr. Robertson, thank you for highlighting Mayor Bowser's achievement of getting 36,000 new housing units a full year before, or at least most of a year before the target date. That's fantastic news. One thing that I noticed when I was looking at the stats on this is that those, while DC overall met its goals, certain planning areas were drastically short of it. So mid-city, where we're located, we exceeded our target by 46%. Far southeast and southwest, where you mentioned you grew up in Ward 8, that's that area that exceeded its housing target by 125%. So it's 225% of the target. But other areas like Rock Creek West was only at 11% of its target. Near Northwest was only at 26% of its target, and Capitol Hill was only at 33% of its target. Those are really high opportunity areas that are frequently close to jobs, close to good schools, and close to parks and other existing resources. And so it's not great to see that those areas are not being developed, especially for affordable housing, so that families moving around within our city or moving to our city who need affordable housing, we don't want them to end up just in frankly, like areas that are de facto segregated by income. We don't want to only have the places for poor families to move to mid-city and move to far southeast and southwest. It would be great for the mayor to focus on those areas that are not meeting their housing goals when she sets the next goals, and to try to figure out why Rock Creek West, near Northwest, and Capitol Hill are not meeting those goals.
Yeah, no problem. So okay, I thought you had a question. I was just saying, okay, I just
that. Would you please take that back to the folks at the mayor? That's all.
Okay, yeah, no problem. But I want to make something very clear. Even though we met that goal, we're not stopping that. When you complete one goal, it just starts the next goal. So like how the housing thing is one of her pet peeves that she wants that. So this is not going to stop. So you look at it like this: that once we create that, you can set a bigger goal for the next step to get more housing, because now we know that we can do it. So every option is on the table when you're talking about Rock Creek Park, when you're talking about this throughout the city. So we did this through all 8 wards. So this wasn't just focused there, you know what I'm saying, on Ward 8, or this was focused around, this was around the city effort. And we all, you know what I'm saying, so this isn't stopping right now. But I definitely will relay the message.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones, is that it? Your hand is still up. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, Anthony. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Actually, there's one other question. I don't know if this question is more directed at you, or maybe Nicole can answer some of this, but regarding the block by block rat mitigation and trash can and tree box cleaning, when are we going to see some actions on those resolvements, I guess, issues?
Well, as far as I don't know about I'm letting Mr. Nicole speak on some of them, but I know we are working with DPW, and we've been working with DOH and everybody to keep the city clean. And we've been actually achieving a lot of our goals. I know down in 1E, I know this is 1B meeting, but I know they can attest to the strides that we've been doing there. And one of the things that one of my targets is down there at T Street, because I go past that a lot, 800 block of T Street and 900 block of T Street, is to get that cleared away on a regular basis. But go ahead.
Nicole, I'm not sure if you heard that question, but I think I can resurface it in the Q&A. It had to, did you hear that?
Yeah, block by block rat abatement.
Rat abatement, tree box cleaning, and trash can.
Yeah, is there something specific on I assume we're talking about public litter cans?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, service for public litter cans. That's something we very regularly talk to DPW on. If folks are seeing, public litter cans that are overflowing, or aren't getting picked up often enough, like, please let us know and put in 311 requests for that, so that DPW can come through. As far as tree boxes, that kind of depends on where we're talking about, because on residential blocks, the residents are responsible for the maintenance of the tree boxes in front of their homes. And in most commercial corridors, it's kind of a combination of the businesses and then the clean teams and some of the other resources that we have in the commercial corridors of who's kind of bearing the responsibility for that. And so that's kind of a combo effort. So I don't know if the person who asked the question can provide more clarity on what info they were looking for.
Hold on, let me see. Okay, I mean, they just said that it's Miss Karen Gall, the 1B area is larger than T Street. I think the corner tree boxes. I'm not sure if there are specific tree boxes, but maybe this can be discussed via email if there is a specific issue, and then if maybe the SMD commissioner can be looped in as well, and then we can figure out who is responsible for that tree box.
Yep. Ms. Gall, feel free to shoot me an email and we can loop in the ANC commissioner and we can try to resolve whatever issue it is that you're seeing out in the community.
Commissioner Trindade Drama.
Thank you. Love that we stumbled upon this topic of public litter can installations. I know it's sort of a running joke at ANC land that it can be very hard to get a litter can placed, and whatever, it's hearsay, but many people say that DPW seems to play games about moving litter cans instead of providing brand new ones when they're requested and that kind of stuff. So, I personally have a 5-month-old litter can request that's just dangling in 311. So does that seem like something we could approach the council member's office about in terms of expediting? Have you had success with that in the past? Is there any hope out here?
Yeah, for public litter can requests. Yeah, please feel free to send those over to us if they're not being addressed. We can figure out with DPW what the holdup is or what assessment they've made. Generally, the process is when a public litter can is requested, DPW is supposed to go out and do an assessment of the surrounding area and make a needs assessment and then make a determination. And so if that's just lingering for a really long time, we can work with them on that. And they also periodically provide us data about where public litter cans have been requested and then the status of that request, if it was approved or denied, and then the rationale. So yeah, definitely follow up with our office and we can work on that with you.
Thank you.
Cedric, can you go ahead and take Ms. Karen Gall off of mute?
Good evening, Commission. I really appreciate you all taking a question. I was not referring to the tree boxes and rat issues that were specifically in front of people's private homes, the single family homes, but it's particularly issues that are unattended because they land in front of some multi-family areas or on corners or things that would be maintained specifically by the city. There's a lot of overgrowth where the rats are hiding. Commissioner Sycamore, he alluded to the rat situation earlier. And then also the street lighting is not being maintained in a lot of areas in 1B. So this is across neighborhood wide that I'm referring to. And then the trash cans, as the Commissioner Sycamore was also mentioning, just to make sure that there is a consistent cleanup of those trash cans and also the proper placement of the trash cans. And I know we've addressed those in several of the commission committee meetings, but I certainly want to make sure not only the mayor's office, but also the council members' office is adding some ownership to these particular items. And thank you very much.
Sure. So, sorry, Ms. Gall, I didn't understand that you were referring to rat holes specifically in the tree boxes. That's something that the Department of Health can come out and remediate. It's a 311 request, or you can reach out to our office. The street lights that are out, also a 311 request. So you can reach out to us as well. And in particular, for anyone in the community, when you're putting in 311 requests, if you've never done it, it's a great system. Please utilize it. It's so wonderful. But it'll give you an expected remediation time. And when things are not handled in that expected remediation time, please reach out to our office, share with us the 311 number. We can follow up with whatever agency it is that's not addressing the concern in the time that was expected, and we can get things moving for you. So please don't feel like you need to sit on unanswered 311 requests. We're here to help and make sure those things keep moving.
Yeah, it's the overgrowth of the vegetation in those boxes, those tree boxes that are not the responsibility. And I'll just do a photo log and I make sure that you all can see what we're discussing. Thank you very much.
Send me the locations and we'll follow up on that.
And if you can CC me on that too, we can help out with that also.
Yes, because it's more than one commission's SMD, and I do appreciate you all requesting that to the specific commissioner. So I don't want to put the ownership on just one SMD.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kinsick.
Yeah, I just Chairwoman McGowl, I appreciate that. Yeah, I put in, Nicole, probably about 11 or 12 lights that have been out in 1B05. 3 of which have been fixed, but there are still a lot of areas that are dark. And like she said, it's all 1B, it's not just 1B05, but I do have a list of 301 numbers. It would be great if maybe we can get together, via chat, email, whatever is best for you. And I can go through with those requests with you. Some of them are open for more than 6 months now. And I know it's been upsetting some of my constituents. Thank you.
Yeah, send them over to me. I'll also put my contact info in the chat. You all can share it out with everybody. But yeah, Commissioner, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email and we'll follow up on all of those.
Great. Commissioner announcements. Hearing none. Community. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Trindade Sarama.
So sorry. I just wanted I've said this by email twice, but I just wanted to make the plea verbally. I really do want to take seriously our commitment to transparency. And so I'm asking all committee chairs to provide committee agendas about a week in advance of meetings. You can, if you are technologically savvy, committee chairs are welcome to post them on the website themselves. I think Commissioner Jones did that last month. I appreciate it very much. If you want me to do it for you, I'm happy to do that. I don't think I can manage reminding all chairs every month, a week in advance of all committee meetings. It's like a lot of calendar reminders for me. So please set your own. I really think it would do our constituents a great service if we gave them a little more heads up of what's coming in committees, so that everything isn't a surprise when it arrives at the commission and we have to sit here for 4.5 hours into the night. So I really want to get this initiative off the ground. So again, committee chairs, if you would set your own calendar reminders a week before every committee meeting, send to me or post on the website just a rough agenda, top line, what's expected to be discussed. That would be super helpful.
Thank you. Community announcements. Let's see. Okay. Cedric, can you go ahead and promote Miss Lindsay Hicks? Thank you. You can take yourself off of mute.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to make an announcement for the U Street Main Street. This coming Saturday is our Mid-City Dog Day sidewalk sale that we do in conjunction with the Logan Circle Main Street. It will take place from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. along 14th Street in the corridor.
Thank you for that. We'll also try to repost that on Twitter, and maybe it's something we can also get on the website.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. Not seeing any other community announcements. New business. Not hearing any. Any other further comments? Okay, not hearing any. With that, I adjourn this meeting at 10:28 p.m. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Bye, y'all.